1 hour. So this is only for exam purpose. Now, once the policy is issued, how it can be cancelled? If the policy is cancelled by insurer, then pro rata. Normally we allow pro rata cancellation. We allow pro rata premium refund. But if it is cancelled by the insured, then we have to retain the premium on short period scale. Of course, this short period scale and all now defined by the individual companies based on their filing. If the policy is cancelled on account of a government order or on completion of building in course of construction or where buildings are demolished, then again a pro rata refund is allowed. So government order, if it is cancelled based on a government order or the existing policy is cancelled because building in course of construction is completed and they are going for a fresh policy, or when the building itself is demolished, then a pro rata refund can be allowed. Similarly, during the currency of the policy, if a sum insured increase is required, it can be done on a pro rata basis, whereas a decrease in sum insured on short period scale. Now coming to fire insurance, that fire policy, which is standard fire and special perils policy, which is a normal policy which is used if sum insured is more than 50 crore. There the policy is having 12 perils. We will see what are the perils covered under the policy and 13 exclusions. Originally, it was 14 add-on covers. Later on, molten material spillage was added as an add-on cover. So now it is 15, then 15 conditions. I put it in this way so that you can remember it easily. 12 perils, 13 exclusion, 14 add-on plus 15 condition. 14 plus 1 add-on, right? Now, what is the subject matter normally covered under fire policy? All buildings, machinery including spares, stock of raw material, semi-finished, finished and processed material and stores, furniture, fixture and fittings. See, all these properties are covered under fire insurance, but location should be identified in the policy. So that is the most important thing. In a fire policy, if that item is taken out of that location, then the policy will not respond or policy automatically ceases. If a plant and machinery is covered at a particular location and during the currency of the policy, if it is shifted from that location to another location, unless otherwise the policy is endorsed to that effect, policy will not respond in the event of a claim. So the sum insured should be specified as building, plant and machinery, electrical installations, FFF, stock or specific items. So why we are insisting the sum insured should be specified like this to avoid complexities or disputes in claims. The earlier example which I told, if you are covering plant and machinery in a policy and later on you are purchasing a new machinery and even if you are not informing the insurance company, that new item will conform to the nomenclature in the policy. It will go with the plant and machinery nomenclature. So in the event of a claim, claim cannot be denied. So it is always better to restrict the specifications. You should not give elaborate specification like machinery number 1, machinery number 2, machinery number 3, building, administrative building, maintenance building, like that, unless otherwise you want to restrict your interest. Insured should not specify all those things in fire policy. All the items are deemed to be covered without selection. So it is always better to have a common nomenclature. You see the item stock. A stock can be raw material, packing material, finished goods, stock in process. But instead of specifying it separately, just specify it as stock. Right. And now sum insured can be based on two types: reinstatement value or market value. Agreed value we have already discussed. So a policy issued on reinstatement value means the properties which are covered under the policy to be covered with the reinstatement value or the current replacement value. For example, a building, a 1000 square feet building. if you want to cover under the policy, you have to check what is the construction cost of the building as on today. So 2000 rupees per square feet means the RIV reinstatement value of the building is 20 lakhs. So if the policy is issued on RIV basis, then the sum insured should be 20 lakhs. If your intention is to cover the building on market value, then based on the age of the building, you can apply some depreciation. For example, 1% to 2%. So if the building is 10-year-old, still if you want to cover it under RIV basis, then 20 lakhs should be the sum insured. Building is 10-year-old building. If you want to cover under market value, then 20 lakhs minus depreciation for 10 years. Let us say 20%. So 16 lakhs should be the market value. In the event of a claim, the insured will be getting reinstatement value of the building. If RIV policy is issued, he will be getting only market value of the building if it is covered under market value. Let's take this example, 1000 square feet building, 5 years of age, current value is 15 lakhs. Let's assume. What will happen in two modes of settlement, RIV and MV? So value of building, let's say both are total loss. There are two policies. One is insured on RIV basis, another is insured for MV basis. So value of the building as on today, RIV is 15 lakhs. As on today, market value is 15 minus depreciation. Let's say 10% depreciation. So 2% per year, 5 years. So we are reducing 1.5 lakhs. So it becomes 13.5. So current market value is 13.5 lakhs. Deliberately, the sum insured is chosen with a less value, 12 lakhs and 10.5 lakhs. Let's say loss amount of 5 lakhs. How the claim will be worked out? So current new replacement value is 5 lakhs. Depreciation is not applied on RIV basis settlement, whereas it is applied on market value settlement. So 10% depreciation, that means reduction of 50,000. So value becomes 45,000 for market value settlement, 5 lakhs for RIV settlement. Let us say 10,000 is the salvage uniformly deducted on both sides. Now, when you apply average close, the loss amount, that is 4.9 lakhs into sum insured 12 lakhs divided by sum to be insured, that is the current new replacement value 15 lakhs. Whereas in market value settlement, it will be 4.4 lakhs into 10.5, that is the policy sum insured, divided by sum to be insured is less, 13.5. So in the case of a market value settlement, under insurance is also seen on market value basis. In case of RIV settlement, under insurance is seen on RIV basis. So you can see there will be a difference in settlement. If a person is taking policy on market value basis, then he will have to spend some amount from his pocket to reinstate the property. Now, practically, these are the differences. RIV policies issued to building, plant and machinery, FFF only, and not for stocks. Stocks is always on market value. And adequacy of sum insured should be seen as on date of reinstatement. In MV policy, it is as on date of loss. So after the destruction of the building, it will take some time for reinstatement. For example, if 1000 square feet building is totally damaged, it may take 6 months to reinstate. So adequacy of sum insured or value at risk is calculated as on date of reinstatement. So after 6 months, what will be the value of that building? That should be calculated. Whereas in market value settlement, it is as on date of loss. So claim is settled on total RIV. In market value policy, it is RIV minus depreciation. In the event of a claim, cost of replacement or reinstatement of machinery or building to a condition equal to, but not better than its condition when new. Improvement factor, if any, will be deducted. In RIV settlement, if the policy is covering machinery, then when a new machine is purchased, it should not be any increase in specification or better specification. So whatever betterment done, improvement done, we will be deducting. Surveyor will quantify the improvement factor and deduct from the claim amount. Whereas settlement on market value is RIV minus depreciation. If RA policy is issued on RIV, then intimate the insurer the intention to reinstate within 6 months from the date of loss. Market value it is not required, and reinstatement should be completed within 12 months. Further extension is normally allowed. For further 12 months, the insurer can allow based on the request. If reinstatement is not carried out in an RIV policy, still there is a back route going back to the market value settlement. That is possible. So if after damage, if the insured is taking a decision that I am abandoning the property, or I may reinstate as a different property, then he can opt for market value settlement. So again, everything will be rerouted to market value settlement. That means sum insured will be compared with the market value of the property as on date of loss, and then depreciation will be applied. So premium rate, there is no difference between RIV and MV. Of course, on RIV basis, sum insured should be more than market value basis. So naturally premium will be more. So in RIV policy, actually, if when there is a loss and when he is getting indemnified, he is getting more than his actual loss. For example, a particular building I have been using for 20 years, but it is covered under RIV policy. Now there is a loss. Insurance company will pay me the cost of new building. So what I was having earlier is only an old building. So it is a variation from the pure indemnity principle. But market value policy is strict indemnity. Now let us see what are the perils covered under fire policy. The first peril is fire, accidental external fire or ignition accompanied by flame or heat. I think you are aware about that basics. What is fire? What types of flames can be called as fire? It is accidental burning or actual burning by accidental means. There should be actual burning. That means flame should be visible. Then only we will call it as a fire. Mere charring or smoldering cannot be treated as fire. There are exclusions like its own fermentation, natural heating, undergoing heating or drying by order of public authority. So if a property is getting heated, then that property is not covered. For example, a bread is baked in an oven. So bread is the property which is getting heated or drying process, not the oven. So if there is a fire causing damage to the oven and bread, only bread is excluded. That machinery is payable. Similarly, natural heating or spontaneous combustion. So the area from where the spontaneous combustion started, that area will be excluded. For example, there are 5 heaps of coal. Spontaneous combustion started on the first heap. It spread to the second heap and third heap. So second and third are payable under normal SFSP policy. First heap normally we exclude, stating that the damage has happened due to spontaneous combustion. So when the fire has happened, insured may incur a lot of expenses like water damage while extinguishing fire, damage by firefighters. Firefighters will break some glasses, they will break the walls so that entry is facilitated. Similarly, smoke damage will be there. Falling structures, loss minimization expenses, firefighting expenses. So all these expenses are payable along with the fire damage. But nowadays, brokers are including a lot of add-on covers like firefighting expenses, loss minimization expenses, water damage, all this with a sum insured, a loss limit. When you are putting a sum insured against all these items, that means you are limiting these expenses actually. Loss minimization expenses 1 crore. That means you cannot pay more than 1 crore. If you are not writing anything, then it is automatically covered under fire policy. Whatever expenses they are incurring to reduce the damage, there is a saving for insurance company. Up to that saving, expenses are payable. So next peril is lightning. This is the most confused peril in fire insurance. Only direct damage of lightning is covered. So lightning can have two types of losses. One is direct, other one is indirect. So if the lightning struck on the subject matter covered under the policy, it is known as a direct impact, direct damage. For example, a building. If the lightning struck on the building, there will be a crack. So that electricity will pass through the concrete or through the brickwork to the earth. So it will make its own path. So it will crack. It will create a air medium to pass. So it will reach earth. So that is a direct effect. While going to the earth through this brickwork or concrete, whatever associated structure, whatever associated equipments will be damaged. Since this electrical wiring is again, it is going through the walls, all the wirings, there is a chance of damage, and through the wiring again that our equipments like TV, fridge or washing machine, everything will be damaged. All these items are payable provided lightning has struck our subject matter covered under the policy. So there is another effect of lightning which is known as indirect effect, where lightning would have struck on outside property, for example, a grid, and then high voltage is transmitted to the electrical appliances. So in that case, lightning has not struck on any of our subject matter covered under the policy, then it is known as indirect effect or short circuit. Then that exclusion will prevail. Exclusion number 7 in the policy, where we exclude the electrical appliances which is damaged by short circuit, overheating, overpressure, including lightning. I hope you understand the difference. So next is explosion and implosion. Explosion is sudden or violent burst outward due to build-up of internal pressure. Implosion is the opposite, the bursting inward or collapse due to external pressure. For example, a boiler. A boiler is an equipment where water is heated, converted to steam. So due to the high pressure of steam, there is a chance of explosion in the boiler. In an industry, normally there will be many vessels or equipments which are working under pressure, pressure vessels, reactors. So all those explosions are covered under the policy, but except damage to boiler. So if a boiler explodes, there will be damage to boiler, there will be damage to surrounding property. So all the surrounding property damages are covered under fire policy. What is excluded under fire policy is damage to boiler. Boiler cost only will be excluded. And then if any other explosion in the plant, like a pressure vessel explodes or reactor explodes, it is automatically covered under the policy. Centrifugal explosion is an exclusion. Centrifugal explosion normally happens in a machinery where the rotation speed of the machinery exceeds the design speed. So when it exceeds the design speed, the material will shear from its position and fly. So that is known as centrifugal explosion. So it's purely a mechanical breakdown. So it is not covered under fire policy. Third one is aircraft damage. It is caused by either aircraft, rockets or balloons or satellites. And here also that particular damage should happen by aircraft or a rocket. It should touch the subject matter, and then the subject matter is damaged, then it is payable. Sometimes when the aircraft goes, high pressure waves will be created, and these pressure waves will damage the building glass panes. So that is not covered under the policy because there is no peril has not touched the subject matter at all. Next is riot strike malicious damage, direct visible physical loss by external violent means. There is an exclusion, cessation, retarding or interruption of work, dispossession from, confiscation by government and unlawful occupation, burglary, theft, larceny, etc. during malicious act. Riot, the definition is public disturbance by a group of 6 or more is riot. So here the condition is riot or strike there should be a physical damage to the subject matter. Even there are multiple other damages. If a strike is going on or riot is going on, employees may not be able to enter into the premises and there will be a production loss or a consequential loss. All those losses are not covered under this policy. There should be a physical damage to the subject matter, then that damage is payable. Now, the earlier slide, it is written burglary, theft, larceny, etc. during malicious act is an exclusion. So that means burglary, theft and larceny during riot and strike is covered, but during malicious damage is excluded. It becomes like, seems to be slightly funny. Normally in a riot, people will enter into our premises, a commercial building or shop, or they will enter and they will damage by what you call, using so many ammunitions or sticks or whatever. Mad people will enter and they will break the glass or break the door. So these are all physical damages. Suppose they are lifting some property, they are entering into a TV shop, 10 TV is damaged, cracked or dropped, and another 10 TV they have picked up, they have gone away with the TV. So that becomes a burglary. So during riot and strike, whether it is a burglary or theft or physical damage, it is covered. But in malicious damage, see, malicious damage, what is burglary? Burglary is actually a malicious damage. And person entering without our permission, he is entering into the premises by force, entry or exit by force, and then he will create either damage or he will what you call, take away of the property, the stealing or the actual theft or burglary will happen. So it itself is a malicious act. So this you remember. Terrorism was earlier inbuilt cover along with RSMD. It was RSMD-T. Then terrorism was taken out. Terrorism is a separate add-on cover now. And next peril is STFI, storm, tempest, flood, and inundation. These are all different names of wind speed, high intensity wind speed, normally called as storm, cyclone, typhoon, tempest, hurricane, tornado. So every wind, every high velocity wind, a different name will be given. So irrespective of the name or geography, all high speed wind damages are covered under the policy. Inundation is water entering into our premises due to various causes. Flood is like water again entering into premises due to overflowing of natural resources like a river or a lake. So when it overflows and water enter into our premises, we call it as flood. Otherwise, it is known as inundation. EQ is a separate add-on cover and tsunami covered if both EQ and STFA are covered. Next peril is impact damage. Impact damage is direct physical damage to the property by rail, road, vehicle or animal. So there's a restriction. It should be only rail, road, vehicle or animal, not owned by insured. So it should be owned by a third party. All other things are excluded. Subsidence and landslide, including rock slide. This is treated as an AOG peril. Subsidence means uh, settlement of our ground, maybe due to absence of proper, what you call, normally before construction of any building, they strengthen the ground with the help of what you call pressure or water. It is applied and they will set that ground proper for constructing a building. So sometimes even after doing all these things, that land can give away and there will be a subsidence. One side of the building will go down. So that is a peril covered under the policy, but not for normal cracking, settlement or coastal river erosion. Defective design, workmanship, materials, demolition, construction or alteration. So if because of this, if there is any subsidence, then it is not covered. In landslide, you would have seen many times due to heavy rain, the entire earth is moved to a different play location. So it will, during its movement, it will damage whatever property on the way. Similarly, rock slide. Big rocks will come and hit our property and there will be a damage. Next is bursting and overflowing of water tanks, apparatus and pipes. So this is a normal peril. Like if there is an overflowing of water from tanks or any pipeline bursting, then damage happens to our property, it is payable. Missile testing operations. So missile testing, what we are normally covering is by Indian government or Indian military. Leakage from automatic sprinkler installation, excluding damage due to repairs or alteration to building and sprinkler installation, existing defect, etc. So we are actually entertaining the insured, encouraging the insured to install sprinklers because automatic sprinkler will reduce the loss to a great extent. In the event of a fire, sprinkler will operate and water will be sprayed onto that particular area. So the fire will be immediately quenched. So if sometimes the sprinkler bulb will break due to internal issues or leakage and it will cause a damage to our property. But we cover these type of damages so that we are giving encouragement for the insured to install more and more sprinklers. Similarly, bush fire is a covered peril under the policy. There is a difference between bush fire and forest fire. Physically, both are same, but forest is an area earmarked by government. So if the fire emanating from forest, then it is not payable under the normal fire policy. If it is not earmarked as forest, whatever fire flames emanating from bush, it is payable. So if the property is near to a forest which is earmarked by government, then it is better to go for an add-on cover. Now we will see exclusions. Before that, any questions till now? Balaji, anybody wants to ask questions, I think.
Sir, can you give an example of indirect damage caused by lightning?
Super.
Yeah. See, normally, for example, you are watching your TV and there is heavy rain, lightning, it struck on the outside grid or the outside transformer, outside your premises. That means that transformer or the grid lines are owned by government or a private power supplying agency. When the lightning struck on the transformer or the grid line, it will create a high voltage surge. That high voltage will be transmitted to our main switchboard and then the TV. TV will go, maybe switchboard will burn. All these damages are excluded because the lightning has not struck on the subject matter covered under the policy. Yeah.
Sir, your subject matter was TV.
But the lightning has not struck. Lightning should touch your subject matter. The touching is important. It has touched somewhere
The
else.
subject matter here is TV.
That is what I am telling. Lightning as a peril has not touched your TV. It has touched the grid line. Only high voltage has come to your TV. So the striking point is important. It should struck on your building. Then it is payable. If there is a proof that there was a lightning strike and it is striking on your building or your plant and machinery, then all damages are payable.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, can you please explain that RIV sum once again, sir?
Arabia.
Sir,
What is
one sum you have been reinstatement value sum, sir. One sum you have been shown, no, in previous slide.
Sir, the first example, I also have doubt on that in RIV and MB, sir. One very first slide. Yes, this one, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you please explain this once again, sir?
Yes, sir. Request once again, sir, please.
Because, sir, since already we have taken the market value, then why we are in the average we are again deducting this 5,000 from 50,000? If already we have insured on the market value, Then why we are deducting again this 5,000, 50,000, sir?
Please understand that sum insured is the option of the insured. He can take any sum insured. I have shown an example. In this case, we will take only market value case. Here I have taken 10.5 lakhs as an example. He can even insure it for 20 lakhs. So sum insured is immaterial. Only thing, if he can take a sum insured lesser than the RIV sum insured, thereby he can save some premium. Anyway, he is not going to get it. We are going to apply depreciation. That is for sure. So there is no point in insuring his subject matter for full value. So he himself can calculate some deduction and take a lesser sum insured. And if it is less than 10.5 further, then under insurance will be applicable. So as per surveyor's calculation, RIV is 15 lakhs. As per surveyor's calculation, market value should be only 13.5 lakhs. I should have taken a policy for 13.5 lakhs. Had I been taken for 13.5 lakhs or 14 lakhs or 15 lakhs, under insurance factor or average clause would not have applied at all. But here I deliberately took a policy for a lesser sum insured to save the premium. So I will have to pay the price for under insurance. And depreciation, anyway, you have to apply in a market value settlement from the loss amount.
Sir, depreciation is already has been applied now in this market value 13 lakh 15,000. Already we have applied depreciation. Then why at the time of loss we are again applying this depreciation of 50,000?
My God, that is sum insured. That is what I am telling. Don't mix sum insured with the claim amount. Sum insured is the option of the insured. He can take even for 1 lakh also. He can take for 100 lakhs also. Same property. There is no control. It is up to him. He should calculate. He can take on RIV and he can tell it, I want a market value policy. That means your sum insured will be always more. Nowadays, people are doing like that to avoid under insurance. They will always add 10% to the value of the property and take insurance because premium is only peanuts. And then at the time of claim, there won't be any under insurance. So here also, this is only example. This particular insured has taken 10.5 as the sum insured. Probably he knows that market value I should have taken for 13.5 lakhs. But okay, if any loss, I am ready to pay a portion of the loss. I am taking only 10.5. So don't mix the sum insured with the claim settlement. Now coming to claim settlement, my loss amount is 5 lakhs. So first step in a RIV, in a market value claim settlement is application of depreciation. So from claim amount, whatever it is, I will apply depreciation.
Okay, sir. Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Do we cover impact damage due to vehicles owned by insured employees, sir?
No. Not owned by insured or his own employees.
Okay, sir.
Damage with right and cycle is covered.
Rango down.
Sir, malicious damage along with right and strike only is covered, sir.
No, malicious damage is also covered as a separate cover. For example, you are in quarrel with your neighbor. Your neighbor is coming and hitting your property, your building, and he is damaging a part of your building. It is known as malicious damage. To prove that, there should be a fire. So definitely you will go to police. You will tell somebody has damaged by building. So it is payable under fire policy.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, hailstorm is also covered in STFI.
Yeah. Normally, when we talk about storm, all types of storms are covered. If it is high velocity wind is there, we will cover.
Okay.
Sir, if firefighting expenses are inbuilt covers, then why are we giving them as an add-on?
Don't ask such questions. These are all commercial questions. I am talking theory. So many interests are there for brokers. So we are not worried about that. As per theory, if any fire happens, any expenses incurred by the insured to minimize the loss, if it is proved, suppose he is incurring 1 lakh, thereby it is proved that he has minimized a loss of 2 lakhs, up to 1 lakh is payable without any add-on cover. Whatever may be the expenses, it can be shifting of property, it can be demolition of a wall, it can be water, it can be foam, whatever. It can be employment of more people. any expenses he is incurring and surveyor is certifying that by incurring these expenses, he has saved more than these expenses for the insurance company, that expenses is payable without asking any question, any add-on cover.
Sir, if a
So under this,
policy, if a policy has been insured on RIV basis, but later on insured ask, I don't want to go for the reinstatement, and the MB it turns on, then will there be premium refund in that case? Because RIV premium is more and MB premium is less. So will there be
No
any
premium refund. No premium refund. Claim will be considered according to market value. Under insurance also will be on market value.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So park your questions
under the-
for, we will, when we break it again, you can ask. We will go forward, park it your questions, mute your mics. We are moving forward. Exclusions, the first exclusion is excess that you go through the circular. Each company will have circular. I'm not elaborating on excess part. It is only figures. Here, please note that I forgot to tell you in the beginning, you have to go through the tariff 2-3 times. It is not possible for me to explain each and every word of the tariff and getting it like you are getting it by hearted. That is not the intention. The intention of the class is where you find it logically difficult to understand and digest. I will explain the questions which you asked, market value or RSMD. So like that questions will come to your mind. Those questions I am trying to answer. But the figures, all those fixed amounts, those things you by heart, you reproduce in the exam, right? So I will skip all those things, even if it is in the slide. So these are the main exclusions. Loss to stocks in cold storage by change of temperature. You understand what is cold storage? Change of temperature can happen due to various reasons. But if it is only due to change of temperature, there are no perils, then it is excluded. Electrical risks, as these will have to be covered under MBD policy. This is what I was pointing out as exclusion number 7. Short circuiting or overpressure, arcing, heating, leakage of electricity, even due to lightning, it is not payable. It should be covered under an MBD policy. Architect consulting engineers fees in excess of 3% and debris removal in excess of 1%. So after the damage to a building, necessarily we have to take the help of an engineer or architect. So up to 3% it is automatically covered under the policy. You can pay those expenses. Similarly, if the subject matter is damaged, you have to remove that debris from the location for reinstatement of the property. So the debris removal is covered up to 1% of the claim amount. Here debris means what is available after the action of the peril, what is available for the available at the location of the damaged property. That means debris is what we had covered under the policy as subject matter. Suppose a rock is coming, a big rock is coming during rock slide, and to remove that big rock from the property, that is not a debris. Debris is removing the damaged subject matter. So rock becomes a foreign debris. So you should have an add-on cover to cover that. And war nuclear risks are normal exclusions. And pollution and contamination, excluding pollution resulting from an insured peril and peril resulting from pollution. For example, you assume a 5-star hotel where the precious their walls will be decorated with many things and costly paints would have been used. If a short circuit and a small fire, it can cause smoke damage to the building, smoke damage to the walls. So those smoke pollution and contamination damages are payable because it is following an insured peril. Here insured peril is fire. If it is only smoke damage, maybe it is coming from some nearby area, then it is not payable under fire policy. There should be a peril affecting the subject matter, then the pollution contamination is payable. Sometimes there will be a gas leakage. It can create a pollution and contamination and further then an explosion. So pollution and contamination followed by an insured peril is payable. Pollution and contamination after an insured peril is payable, or once the peril happens, then pollution contamination, that also payable. So standalone pollution contamination is not covered. Similarly, bullion, unset precious stones, curios, artwork exceeding 10,000. So these items are covered. These items we discussed under agreed value policy. Up to 10,000, this automatic covering. Then plans, drawings, checks, coin, paper money, books of accounts, computer records, goods held in trust unless expressly stated. So this paragraph is having two sections. One, there are items which are covered up to 10,000. Others, including money and computer records and goods held in trust, not at all covered under the policy. If you want a cover, it should be expressly stated in the policy. Goods held in trust, it should be expressly stated, then only it is covered. Otherwise, if insurable interest is not there, even if he acquires insurable interest through an agreement, we will not pay the claim because it is goods held in trust. Of course, the insured can always specify in the policy, this machine is under lease. I want to take a cover. Yes, you can give a cover. Loss of earnings, market, loss by delay. These are coming under consequential loss insurance. Loss by spoilage due to cessation, retardation, etc. by an insured peril. You assume a food processing industry. That raw material moving from machine 1 to machine 2, then machine 3 and coming out. Let's say there is a damage to machine 3. That means the raw material cannot move from machine 2 to machine 3 because machine 3 is stopped. Maybe due to an insured period, but still machine 1 and 2 are not at all affected. So the stock which is spoiled, if it is a food item, it will spoil after certain hours. So that stocking process will be decay or damaged. So that damage will not be payable under fire policy. To cover it, you should take an add-on cover. Sometimes the machine itself will be damaged since the stock is not moving and stock is getting decayed within the machine. Even the machine itself may require an overhauling and cleaning. So these things are not covered under fire policy. Loss by theft during, after loss, except as provided in RSMD. What is except provided in RSMD? I have already explained. Loss by theft or burglary during RS is covered. Loss due to EQ volcanic eruption is not covered. Loss to property if removed to other premises except P&M temporarily removed for repairs not exceeding 60 days. In earlier slide, I was pointing one important thing where the fire policy we are giving to properties in an identified location. So once these properties are taken out of the premises, cover automatically ceases except for plant and machinery temporarily removed for repairs, not exceeding 60 days. Now let us see the conditions in fire policy. There should be no misrepresentation and the insurance will cease 7 days after collapse of the building. If the building is already collapsed due to an uninsured peril, then the entire insurance will cease. There should be no alteration in the trade or manufacture in insured premises. This I was explaining in the first slide. Utmost good faith. There should be no alteration in the trade or manufacture in insured premises. Refer agreed bank clause. If bank is unaware of the risk alteration, claim is payable to bank. So if the insured has taken the policy declaring that the shop is dealing with groceries, later on he started selling crackers or paint, which is a hazardous material. So without informing the insurance company, he has altered the trade. Then as per this condition, no claim is admissible. If the policy is taken by bank and as per bank's reference, it is only a grocery shop and bank is unaware that this fellow has changed from grocery to cracker. If the bank is not aware, then the claim is payable to bank. But if the bank is aware and then if the bank is not declaring to the insurance company, bank has taken a loan or loan has been increased when he has changed the trade from grocery to cracker or grocery to paint. So that means bank is aware of the risk alteration. Still bank has not informed the insurance company, then the claim is not admissible. If the insured premises is left unattended or unoccupied for more than 30 days, then the cover automatically ceases. Similarly, if the insurable interest passes to other person other than by will or by operation of law. So if the property passes from father to son, then it by will, then it automatically insurable interest also passes, insurance also passes. Or if the court there is an award that this property belongs to this person, then also policy automatically it passes to the new person. In all the other cases, it automatically ceases. If there is an insurable interest, insured can always pass an endorsement in the policy or like a transfer of vehicle. If the insured property is covered by marine policy, then marine policy will operate and pay the claim first. And insured can terminate the policy on short period terms. Insurer can terminate on pro rata terms. 15 days notice period should be given. Now, if property is covered in more than one policy, then as you know, there will be a contribution. This contribution clause is there as a corollary to principle of indemnity, so that we are not paying anything more than his actual loss. For example, a property of 10 lakh is insured with the United, Oriental and National for 2, 5 and 3 lakhs respectively. If there is a loss, all the three companies will pay in the ratio 2:5:3. Based on the sum insured ratio, the claim will be distributed. This is not a subrogation. This is an example of subrogation, contribution with the average clause. Policy A sum insured is 10,000, policy B 20,000. That means contribution of policy A is 1/3 of total. Contribution of policy B is 2/3 of total. Let us say sum insured is 30,000. Loss is 16,000. Value at risk is 40,000. That means sum insured is not adequate to cover the entire value of the property. There will be underinsurance. Underinsurance. What do you mean by underinsurance? Underinsurance is sum insured by sum to be insured or sum insured by value at risk. So it is 3/4, 30/40,000. Now, what will be the contribution of A? A will pay the claim loss amount into his underinsurance 1/3 or his contribution 1/3 into underinsurance 3/4. So he will pay 4,000. Similarly, B will pay 16,000 into 2/3 into 3/4, 8,000. Total claim will be 12,000. Still, there will be a reduction of 4,000, which is the penalty for underinsurance. He has not covered his property fully, even with the two insurers. So find out the contribution of policy first, find out the underinsurance, then multiply both on the loss amount. You will get the contribution of each insurer. Now, subrogation means if the insured, if the damage to the subject matter is caused by a third party, insured should legally hold erring third parties responsible for the loss so that insurers can enforce subrogation. So naturally, further course of action will be transferred to the insurance company. And all correspondence should be in writing. For scale 1 and 2, the questions may be for even the number of condition. So it is coming in the coming slides. What is condition number 1? What is condition number 3? What is condition number 5? Like that. Now, how the properties will be rated under fire policy? If you see the tariff, entire property divided into section 3, section 4, 5, 6 and 7. Section 3 means simple risk, where like dwelling, places of worship, temple, hospital, showrooms, hotels, etc. Section 4 deals with industries or manufacturing risk. For example, a textile mill, engineering workshop, sugar industry, etc. Section 5 deals with the utilities located outside the compounds of industrial manufacturing risk, such as boiler house, dam, sewage treatment, etc. Section 6 is storage risk. Section 7 is again storage of liquid and gas in tank farms or gas holders outside the compounds of industrial compound. Here, the one point you have to remember, any item within the compound, whether it is an industrial manufacturing risk or a utility or a storage or a tank farm, it will be rated under section 4. Anything within the compound will be rated under section 4 and it will attract only one rate based on the industrial rate. But if the utility is outside the compound, then a separate rate. If the storage is outside the compound, separate rate. Tank farm outside the compound, separate rate. Compound of manufacturing plant. So how you will rate the policy? You have to find out the rate of section 3 items like showroom, shop, etc. from tariff. It is very easy. It's a single line rating. Whereas in the case of industrial manufacturing risk, rating is slightly complex. You have to ask 2-3 questions. The first question should be, what is the final product which you manufacture in the industry? For example, if they manufacture what you call sugar, then it is a sugar industry. If they manufacture agarbatti, then it is agarbatti manufacturer. So if you ask the question, what is your final product? Half of the risk codes you can analyze and rate can be found out. If you are not able to find the rate by asking this question, then the next question is, what is raw material involved? For example, if the answer of the first question is plastic goods, then if you see the tariff, there are 2 ratings. Plastic material having calorific value less than 15,000 BTU per pound and more than 15,000 BTU per pound. So there are 2 ratings available. Then you ask the question, what is the raw material used? What type of raw material? So when that raw material, you will be able to find the risk code. If you are not able to find still, the third question is, what is the process involved? For example, a paint manufacturing industry, the finished product is paint. The raw material may be also almost same. So some process will have water-based paints, some process will have nitrocellulose-based paints. Similarly, rubber industry, some process will have spreading as a process, some industry will not have spreading as a process. So based on the process, again the risk will change. You have to depend on risk engineers to analyze further and to find out which risk code it is coming under. Now coming to utilities outside the compound. I told you here all these utilities, if it is within compound, then manufacturing rate is applicable. Section 4. If it is outside, then separate rates are there for each of the utility. Similarly, if the storage is within the compound, then industrial rate. Outside the compound, you should ask what is the category of the item stored. 2 questions, whether it is a go down or open, and what is the category of the item stored. Based on the category, if it is non-hazardous goods or a category 1 good, category 2, category 3 goods, the rate will vary. Same rate is applicable for building as well as contents. Similarly, tank farms, what is the category? How you find the category? In coming slides, it is coming. Please understand that there are different category of material based on the heat it produces or the flammability of the material. So non-hazardous materials are there. Category 1, 2, 3 are there. Then the coir waste or caddies are there. So category 3 is more hazardous than category 2. Category 2 is more hazardous than category 1. And non-hazardous category is the less hazardous, premium will be less. So you have to find out maybe from the nature of the material which category it belongs to. Then the next one is tank farm. It is also outside the compound where the gas or liquids are stored based on the type of gas, whether it is an inflammable gas or an inert gas like a nitrogen. Inflammable gas like LPG, the rates will vary based on the material. So normally final fire rate will be the basic rate plus add-on rate. This add-on rate can be either specified rate or a percentage of policy rate. So don't imagine about the underwriting what is happening day to day. Now today's scenario, there may not be any rate at all. But for exam purpose, final rate is arrived by basic rate plus add-on rate. Add-on rates are either specified rate, 1%, 2%, 3% like that, or a percentage of the policy rate, basic rate, 10% of the policy rate, 5% of the policy rate like that. These are the add-on covers normally we give as part of SFSP with the additional premium. All these add-ons are chargeable. So architect fees up to 3% is inbuilt, up to 7.5% of the claim amount you can cover. Removal of debris up to 1% inbuilt, more than 1% up to 10% of the sum insured. You can cover with the extra premium. Similarly, I will come back to DOS later. Similarly, forest fire, specified sum insured, impact damage, policy sum insured, spontaneous combustion, again specified sum insured of commodity. Spontaneous combustion rate depending on the commodity, what type of commodity. So here category 1 is the low risk and category 4 is the high risk material. If you see the zone wise EQ rating, zone 4 is the least risk, zone 1 is the highest risk. So here it is the reverse. Category 1 is the lowest risk, category 4 is the highest risk. Omission to insure up to 5% of the building machinery accessory sum insured. Now coming to the dose, if you remember while explaining the exclusions, I was talking about loss of stock in cold storage premises is not payable unless otherwise there is an insured peril. So we normally give two types of add-on covers under fire policy, which is known as DOS A and DOS B. DOS A is like we pay the stock also due to any temperature change. The peril may not be directly damaging the stock, but the peril has acted somewhere outside and there is a failure of electric supply. For example, that peril or what you call fire or flood would have happened at the power station or anywhere in the grid. And then there is no power to our cold storage, which is that situation is known as FOES, failure of electric supply. So in that case, if electric supply is not there, refrigerating machinery of the cold storage cannot work. So then the stock start decaying within the cold storage. Cold storage normally they keep the temperature less than -4 degrees centigrade. So if stock is damaged by this, then we pay the claim. So failure of electricity can happen. It should happen due to an insured peril, but not at the insured premises. It can be outside insured premises. Failure of electricity can happen even when the government or the power supplying agency switch it off in an emergency to save somebody's life. So in a nutshell, this cover is high risk because we don't have any control over the supply of electricity. And even if there is a failure and damage, the surveyor may not be able to do the survey to find out what is the proximate cause and all. But we are issuing this cover. It is there. Time access is 24 hours. That means the electricity failure should be more than 24 hours. The decay within 24 hours is not payable because a cold storage supposed to withstand a power failure up to 24 hours. If it is not withstanding, it is a design issue. Now DOS B. Here the only difference, the peril is happening at the insured premises. If there is a flood, if there is a fire and damaging the refrigerating machinery, thereby increasing the temperature in the cold storage and stock is decayed, it is payable under the policy. Again, a time excess of 24 hours is there. So other add-on cover I have already explained. Earthquake also add-on cover. Spoilage material damage. I have already explained what is spoilage. So value of stock, even the machinery value also can be covered under the specified block. This cover is not required for all industries, only for specific industries they want this cover. Leakage and contamination. It can be leakage or leakage and contamination. Specified cover can be given for covering the liquid chemicals which are corrosive or which are flammable. Similarly, temporary removal of stock is an add-on cover. Here there is an under-insurance clause. What the loss into temporary removed sum insured divided by actual value of stock temporarily removed at the time of loss. So a sum insured will be taken, but at the time of claim, the value of stock outside the premises will be more. So then there will be an underinsurance. Loss of rent cover. This cover I think all are familiar. If insured owns the building and if the building and he has given it for rent, if the building is damaged by insured peril, there is a chance that he will lose the rent. So that can be covered. So he can specify the sum insured, but at the time of claim, there is an economic limit applicable. That means reinstatement period into sum insured by term of rent insured. For example, he has taken a sum insured of 12,000 and term of rent insured is 12 months. That means his intention is to cover rent of 1,000 rupees per month. Now there is a damage and reinstatement period is, let's say, 3 months. That means 3 months he will lose his rent, but he is claiming 4,000 rupees. Whereas he has covered only 12,000 for 12 months. So his intention is to cover 1,000 rupees per month, but after the loss he is claiming 4,000 for 3 months. So we will restrict to 3,000. This is known as economic limit. The same thing, if you see in the angle of underinsurance also, it will give you the same result. The example which is given down below, claimed amount is 8,000 for 6 months. So rent per month claimed is 1,333. Economic limit is 12,000 by 12 into 6,000. Or you apply under insurance, loss 8,000 into sum insured 12,000 divided by sum to be insured. Since he is claiming 1,333, he should have insured 1,333 into 12. So under insurance equation is loss into sum insured by sum to be insured, which is also known as value at risk. So both will give you same result. Normally it is known as economic limit. Add-on covers at additional premium. It is continuing. Insurance of additional expense of rent for an alternate accommodation. This happens when the property is damaged and the insured seeks another accommodation to continue his operations. This is normally given only for non-manufacturing units and maximum period given is 3 years only for Pakka building. Alternate accommodation can be within the city municipality limits, can be issued to owner occupant or tenant. Normally it is given to tenant. Here also under insurance is applicable. Rent claimed into sum insured by monthly additional rent for alternate accommodation into indemnity period. The same logic. So there can be a situation where alternate rent for alternate accommodation cover is given to a tenant or given to occupant. So now when it is given to tenant, there can be two situations. The original rent he may be paying to the existing location is 10,000. Now the existing location is damaged. He is taking a new location. There he is paying 12,000 rupees. Now there can be two scenarios. The original building owner may tell him, since it is damaged, you need not pay the rent for my building. So the additional expenses incurred by the tenant is only 12,000 minus 10,000. So 2,000 is payable under the policy. Second scenario, the original building owner will tell, see, you are responsible for loss to my building. So you will have to pay, continue to pay rent. So then after the loss, the insured will have to pay 10,000 plus 12,000, the additional rent. So we will pay this full additional rent of 12,000. So this is a difference based on the scenario where he is liable to pay the original rent or not. Whereas in the case of an occupant, if it is issued to an occupant, we will pay rent for alternate accommodation, but we deduct a standard rent of his own premises fixed by the municipal revenue authority. I am not finding any reason for this, but the tariff says you should not pay the full rent for alternate accommodation. A normal rent which is fixed by the municipality for his own premises to be deducted. Now there is another add-on cover known as startup expenses. It is normally issued for petrochemical industries or refineries. It is hereby agreed and declared that this policy extends to cover startup cost necessarily and reasonably incurred by the insured consequent upon a loss or damage covered by this policy. So in these type of industries, after the loss to start the process, they have to incur a lot of expenses in the form of catalyst or in the form of extra raw material or heating or gases. So these expenses are payable under startup expenses cover. Next add-on cover added by tariff advisory committee from the to the original tariff is small ton material spillage. So here The policy extends to cover physical loss or damage to insured property, excluding cost of molten material that arises without the occurrence of fire as a result of the spillage or leakage of glowing molten material from the container or lines. When a furnace is used to heat or melt metals like copper or tin or steel, and then this molten metal is transferred to the mold for casting in a crucible. Sometimes there will be leakage. It is transferred by overhead cranes. If there is a leakage in the crucible or there is a small explosion due to material composition, this molten material at 1500, 1600 degree will spill from the container, and then it will fall on the down stock or our machinery. Definitely it will damage all the machinery because it is at very high temperature. So all these damages are payable excluding the molten metal. Right. Now we have covered SFSP. Now there are certain variations to SFSP, like fire declaration policy, fire floater policy, and then floater declaration policy. Coming to fire declaration policy, minimum sum insured in one location, one or more locations is 1 crore. If there are multiple locations, at least 25 lakhs should be there in one location. And then insured, policy is mainly used if there is a fluctuation of stock. For example, insured stock varies month to month. In January, it will be 1 crore. February, it will be 50 lakhs. March, it will be 75 lakhs. April, it is 0. May again 1 crore. Like that, every month there will be fluctuation. It is based on the season or the market conditions or the sales conditions. So he can take a policy for the highest value, either highest value at risk during the month or average of the values at risk on each day of the month. So based on that, he can take a policy and a monthly declaration can be given. So when he declare, he is having two options. For example, take the month of January. He should see what is his stock on January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd up to January 31st. Add everything together, divided by 31 will give average value of the month. Oh, that is one option of declaration. Second option is he can see what was the highest value any day. Maybe January 17th is the highest value. That value can be declared. Reduction in sum insured is not allowed. So once they declare monthly basis, and the insurance company is supposed to get these declarations on a monthly basis, and then all these declarations will be added together to find out average declared value. Then premium is recalculated on the average declared value. Then a refund is allowed. Refund maximum 50%. So when before coming to the declaration details, again this policy is only on market value being stock. It cannot be issued for a short period. It cannot be issued for stock in process or stock at railway sidings. Stock in process, any industry will be a constant. It will not vary unless otherwise there is a variation in production conditions or addition of machinery. Stock in process will be a constant. Declaration policy is required when there is a variation, a fluctuation in stock. If the stock value is constant, no declaration policy is required. So, and again, railway sidings, there is no control. Nobody will have any control on the stock at railway sidings. So normally we will not encourage to cover stock at railway sidings under declaration policy. Now there are certain rules for declaration. If the stock is nil, then nil declaration to be made by the client. If the declaration is not made, if it is not reached before the last day of next month to the insurer, then full sum insured will be taken as declared value. So all declarations should reach the insurer before last day of next month. So January declaration should come to the insurer before 28th of February. If that declaration is not received, then it is deemed that 100% of the value is declared. Full sum insured is declared. And all 12 declarations are added. Find average value. Premium is recalculated on average value. Refund is allowed subject to maximum 50%. So in a declaration policy, maximum refund allowed is 50% or minimum retention to the insurance company is 50%. Now, there is one difference in declaration policy compared to SFSP policy. Average clause is applied twice in declaration policy. And if you see this policy, there is an advantage to the insured. He can always declare a lesser value to save the premium. Anyway, he is not going to get a refund in premium. So considering that refund, there is a tendency for reducing the stock value and declaring it. So in the event of a claim, till there is a claim, nothing will happen. He can save premium. But if there is a claim, then what will happen? For example, claim is for March month. Let's say March 15. So February declaration would not have received because there is a time up to March 31st. But January declaration supposed to have come to the insurance company. So the surveyor will check what was the actual stock value of the client as on January. Let's say it is 1 crore. And what is the value declared for January? Let us say it is 80 lakhs. So 80 lakhs by 100 lakhs, it is known as under declaration. So claim amount will be reduced by this proportion. Last declared amount by amount that ought to have been declared. He declared only 80 lakhs. He ought to have declared 100 lakhs. So in that ratio, claim will be reduced. If he has not given any declaration, then there is no issue because amount declared is then deemed to be sum insured. Amount that ought to have been declared, sum insured. So it will give you 1. Ratio will be 1. So there is no change. Then the second under insurance as usual, loss into sum insured by sum to be insured. So there are two under insurance applied in declaration policy claim settlement. One is known as under declaration. The other one is known as average clause. Now, declaration policies, in declaration policies, we attach a special declaration clause. That declaration clause actually modifies the contribution. So when there are two policies, one is a normal SFSP policy or normal IER policy without declaration facility. Another one is a specific declaration policy. Then the contribution clause in declaration policy says declaration policy will respond only over and above the standard fire policy or a normal IR policy. If you read that paragraph, if at the time of loss, the property is covered under any other insurance other than on declaration basis, then that policy will operate first and pay the claim. Declaration policy will pay only excess of the value of stock over the sum insured under the other policy. The insurer shall be liable under declaration policy to pay only a proportion of such loss with such excess. If two declaration policies are there, a rateable proportion of such excess, but not exceeding the sum insured thereby pays to the total value of the stock. It is slightly difficult to understand, but please remember that if there are two policies, one is a policy, standard policy without declaration, and another is a declaration policy. Declaration policy will not operate first. First, the standard policy will pay over and above anything, then contribution will be done by the declaration policy. It is not like the balance entire amount will be paid by declaration policy. Declaration policy will contribute. But if there are two declaration policies issued to the same stock, then it's a pure contribution. We know what is pure contribution in the proportion of the sum insured. Now let us see two examples. You study it carefully. So there are two policies. One is SFSP, another one is declaration policy. SFSP sum insured is 1 lakh. Declaration policy sum insured is 2 lakh. So total sum insured is 3 lakh. But still it is not sufficient to cover the risk. Value at risk is 4 lakh. So there is an under insurance. Now let us say loss is 3 lakh. How the claim will be distributed? First SFSP will contribute Loss amount 3 lakh into sum insured 1 lakh divided by value at risk 4 lakh. So he will pay 0.75 lakhs, and balance how it will be settled by declaration policy contribution. Amount payable after under insurance 3 lakh is the loss into 2 lakh is the declaration policy sum insured divided by 4 lakh. So you can see that wording, declaration policy to pay only a proportion of such loss which such excess. What is that excess? Excess over the sum insured. So here excess of value of stock over SFSP is total value of stock is 4 lakh. Excess of value is 3 lakh. 4 lakh minus 1 lakh sum insured of SFSP. But this 3 lakh is exceeding the sum insured under declaration policy. Hence, declaration policy sum insured will be taken for under insurance calculation. So while applying contribution of declaration policy, you have to see what is the excess of value of stock over the SFSP policy, and whether excess of value or declaration policy sum insured, whichever is lower to be applied. So here 2 lakh is lower. So 2 lakh is applied. You will get 1.5 lakhs. So total payment will be only 2.25 lakhs, whereas the loss is 4 lakhs. So he is losing because of under insurance. Loss is not settled full as value at risk is more than the sum insured. Now you see the second example, it will be more clear. Here the SFSP is again 1 lakh, declaration policy sum insured is 2 lakh, total sum insured is 3 lakh, value at risk is sufficient 2.5 lakh. There is a loss of 1 lakh. So first policy will pay loss amount 1 lakh into sum insured by value at risk 0.4 lakhs. Second policy will pay again 1 lakh loss into, now the next component, next parameter you have to take is excess of value or sum insured of declaration, whichever is less. Here excess of value is 2.5 minus SFSP sum insured 1, so 1.5. Whereas sum insured in declaration policy is 2 lakhs, so 1.5 is less. So I am applying there 1.5 by VAR 2.5. It will give you 0.6. So net claim amount payable is 0.6 plus 0.4 equal to 1 lakh, but that is the loss. So he is getting full loss amount because value at risk is less than the total sum insured. 2.5 is less than 3 lakh. So next policy is floater policy, where we issue a policy with a single sum insured covering multiple locations. All these locations are to be listed in the policy because in fire policy, the rate for premium depends on the location, not only EQ zone. If the stock is in shop, the rate is different. The stock is in sugar factory, rate is different. Shop is in distillery, stock is in distillery, rate is different. So based on the risk location where it is stored, rate will differ. For that reason, all the locations are to be specified in the policy. Highest rate will be taken, 10% loading is applied. Then fire floater policy is rated. If process stock is also covered, then process rate plus 10% is applicable. There is another policy which is a combination of both declaration and floater declaration. That means declaration clause is also applicable, floater clause is also applicable. Minimum sum insured is 2 crore. So conditions of both policies are applicable. So here when you give a refund, retention is 80%. Maximum refund allowed is 20%. In declaration policy, retention is 50%, maximum refund is 50%. In fire floater declaration policy, retention is 80%, maximum refund is 20%. Agreed bank clause, I have already explained how it is going to affect the risk alteration or condition number 3 of the policy. The bank is aware of the risk alteration, claim is not admitted. There is another insurance clause known as contract price. This is normally attached to policy covering imported goods, applicable for goods sold but not delivered, and for which the insured is responsible. If the sale contract is cancelled wholly or partially, then the liability of the company shall be contract price and not the market value. So here in fire policy, we are varying from strict indemnity principle in two instances. One is when reinstatement value clause is attached, insured is getting more benefit than the actual indemnity. Second, when contract price insurance clause is attached, here he is able to claim even the profit element. He has imported goods and the sale contract is finalized. When sale contract is finalized, it will be including his profit. So once it is finalized and then there is a damage, so that he is not able to sell the items and contract price insurance clause is there, we will pay that sale price including the profit. So this is an instance where fire policy deviates from strict indemnity principle. Now there is another interesting clause, designation of property. Here it says insurer agrees to accept designation of property as per the insured's books of accounts. For example, a policy covering stock of oil. The stock of oil is stored for replenishing the machine. So in the event of a claim to oil, there can be a dispute. Surveyor may tell oil is part of machinery, so I will take it as plant and machinery sum insured. Client may tell no, I have treated oil as my stock item, store item in my books of accounts. So if designation of property clause is there, we will accept insurer's argument. We will go by insurer's books of accounts. Otherwise, this may lead to disputes. And there is escalation clause in the policy. If there is a variation in price of the property during the policy period, there is an option of escalation. And this escalation is allowed maximum 25%. Premium is chargeable on the escalation sum insured or half of the escalation sum insured. If, for example, a 10 lakh sum insured policy, escalation allowed is 20%. If there's a loss on 100th day, then escalation is applied on pro rata basis. Value at risk shall be compared with sum insured plus sum insured into 20% into 100 by 365. So 20% escalation is there for the full year, 365 days. So on the date of loss, we compare the sum insured with the sum insured plus escalation or escalated sum insured. So that escalation is not full 20%, but pro rata escalation. There is a difference between escalation clause in fire policy and engineering policy. In fire policy, escalation is applied on pro rata basis based on the total number of days and the date of loss. Whereas in engineering policy, escalation is applied upfront. On the first day, the full escalation is applicable. I am talking about engineering project insurance. So the correct statement should be all annual policies escalation is on pro rata, including fire, MBD, EA. Whereas all project policies escalation is applied, full escalation is applied on the next day of issuing the policy. And all annual policies escalation is limited to 25%. Whereas in project policy, since it is issued for a long period, escalation can be 50%. There is another clause. That clause is very big. I'm not going through the full detail, but please understand that after the damage, when the insured is about to reinstate the building or property, there is an local authority clause or public authority clause. He may have to spend some additional expenditure to reinstate. So that additional expenditure is payable if this clause is applied or clause is given with the policy. But there are certain conditions. If the insured is already aware that this particular local authority instructions are already there before the loss, then we will not pay the claim. For example, a building is there, our house building is there for 40 years and there is a damage, total loss. I want to reconstruct my building. When I reconstruct my house, there is a rule now existing in Tamil Nadu, there should be water harvesting system with your building. So now I have to spend extra amount of water harvesting system, unless otherwise I will not get a license to build my building, build my property. So this extra amount is payable. And of course, when I pay this extra amount, I will restrict to only the damage portion. If only 10% damage is there, I will pay 10% of the expenses which are required to comply with the local authorities clause. Whatever other conditions applicable to the policy is applicable to local authorities clause also. For example, under insurance. And again, local authority clause is applied only in the case of reinstatement, not on market value settlement. So if you see All India Fire Tariff, this is for exam, you have to remember what is the section and what it covers or what it describes. General rules and regulation. Section 2 is policy wording. Section 3 symbol, section risk. Section 4 industrial manufacturing risk. Section 5 utilities. Section 6 storage risk. Section 7 tank farm. Section 8 add-on covers. Only memory testing. Before going to the next, if you have any doubt, we can clarify. You can unmute and speak if anybody wants to ask any question.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you, sir, in this declaration policy, when we are paying after some SFSP policy, while under a calculating under the insurance, why we are taking value as full 4 lakhs? Say SFSP policy, sum insured is 1 lakh, and declaration policy, sum insured is 2 lakh. When we are value at risk 4 lakhs, when we are going for declaration policy, already 1 lakh is deducted from SFSP. Now, can we take it as 3 lakhs? Why we are taking it as 4 lakhs?
No. See, value at risk is a constant. Whether you issue one policy, n number of policy, value at risk is value at risk. That is 4 lakhs. So here we are trying to contribute to the loss. So you take the simple
actually,
contribution
insured
example.
Knowingly reducing the sum insured, 1 for declaration, 1 for. That way it can't be.
See, sir, these are all theoretical example, and you do not have any restriction to the insured. You should take this policy to this sum insured. This policy should have this policy. I told you in the first example, it's in the first doubt itself. Sum insured, we don't have any control. He can take anything. A 1 lakh property, he can insure it for 1 crore. That does not mean that we will give 1 crore. Settlement will be always based on the policy terms and conditions. You cannot tell the insured there should not be any under insurance, sir. This property is 1 crore. Why you are insuring for 10 lakhs? No, such question should not be asked. It is his liberty to do it in property insurance. In the event of a claim, you pay only 1/10, 1/100. That's all. So no questions will be asked. He can take n number of policy. He can take 2 declaration policy, 1 SFSP. Everything is possible. This is a theoretical calculation. If that is happened, what will be our claim amount? I will tell you a simple example which I experienced in Salem. There was a big loss, 7 crore stock loss. And then we understand that National is having a declaration policy, but our policy was SFSP. So National simply washed their hands, stating that, sir, you pay first. If anything in excess, we will come into picture. So that was the time even I learned that there is a problem in not a problem. There is a clause, declaration clause, where it modifies the contribution. It is not strict, pure proportional contribution. Declaration policy is having only restricted cover over and above normal policy coverage. If SFSP or IR is there, they should pay first. If something excess, based on the value at risk and that excess value, we will contribute. That's all. So wherever declaration policies are there, before settlement of claim, you have to check whether any other policy is given. Any other doubt?
Sir, in this
Sir, the
data
architect
reserve of
fees,
stock,
add-on cover.
Yeah.
sir, in this data reserve of stock, B clause, DOSB.
DOSB.
DOSB. The machinery should be insured to pay the claim.
Yes,
Machinery
machinery should be damaged by an insured period. Yes, it should be insured. This is an
It should
add-on
be
cover. Basic property should be there.
Okay, sir.
And it should be damaged by insured period. Fire, lightning, aircraft damage, STFI, RSMD, not by breakdown. Breakdown is an exclusion. Okay, now we will have a small brief.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir. Light in exclusion, sir. The lightning arise in home switchboard. That time short circuit arise. The claim will be payable.
Don't see, this is a class for exam. Don't bring your practical problems to here. I told you clearly, as far as my English communication is, I am able to do. If the peril touches your subject matter, if there is a proof, everything is payable. Whether it is electrical machine, electronic machine, you are wiring, fan, TV, everything is payable. If you are able to prove that lightning has struck on any of your property covered under the policy. If you are having a video showing the lightning struck on your home building, then whatever contents, however it is damaged, then don't use the word short circuit. That is a lightning direct damage. That's all. If you are not able to prove, then the assumption is short circuit. Is it clear?
Okay.
How many claims you have rejected?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So
I am in
quickly,
marketing section.
we will post the park the doubts later. We will quickly go through the new products introduced by IRDA. After this, we will have a short break. Right. See, there are in IRDA introduced 3 new products. Bharat Griha Raksha, Bharat Sukshma Udyam Suraksha, and Bharat Legu Udyam Suraksha in 2021. The intention was to cover all dwellings under one policy, Bharat Griha Raksha, irrespective of the sum insured. Any type of dwelling can be covered. No sum insured limit. That means that no more SFSP or any other policy to be given for dwellings or residential buildings. Only BGR or any other policy designed by the insurance company in lines with the BGR. And all the terms and conditions also simplified so that any individual will understand it. Another 2 policies mainly intended for SME sector or MSME sector up to 5 crore Bharat Sukshma Udyam Suraksha, 5 crore to 50 crore it is Legu Udyam Suraksha. The 5 crore is again the value at risk. Value at risk does not exceed 5 crore across all insurable assets classes at any one location at the commencement of the insurance. So here they are modifying the tariff in one location based on the insurable interest of the insured. If all the properties put together, if it is less than 5 crore, then he can go for Bharat Sukshma Udyam Suraksha. Whether he is taking a policy for 5 crore or 1 crore, it is immaterial. He can go for 1 crore also. But total asset where he is having insurable interest should not exceed 5 crore. He can have a selection further, subject to under insurance will be there. He can do it, but property value should not exceed 5 crore. If the property value exceeds 5 crore, then it violates or it is a misrepresentation. Even the claim can be rejected if the proposal form is filled. If you remember the first slide, that becomes his contractual duty if he assign the declaration in the proposal form, because Bharat Sukshma and Bharat Legu policy proposal form, the first sentence is value at risk is less than 5 crore or 50 crore. Now, BGR policy, I am not going to the detail of each and every word. Please understand that it is issued only for residential building and it is only for buildings where it is used for dwelling purpose. If it is used as a guest house or lodging purpose, normal SFSP to be issued, not BGR or a BLUS or BSCS policy. And if it is a residence, for example, a 3-story building, the ground floor I am running my own family business, a shop or any other business. It is owned by me, insured. Then still BGR policy can be given. But if it is a 3-story building on the ground floor, a shop is there, I have a share in the shop, but it is run by some other persons, multiple employees. Then I should insure the ground floor as a commercial property, a shop, and other 2 floors I can take for BGR. So BGR, there is a relaxation. Earlier it was not there. If it is a family business, it is just ignored. Now, if you see the coverage of BGR, it is simply SFSP plus some additional perils is added. For example, SFSP restrict impact damage. Insured's own vehicles or employee vehicles are not covered. Here it is covered. SFSP restrict bushfire. Forest fire is not covered. Here it is covered. Forest fire is covered. Spontaneous combustion is covered. EQ is covered. Terrorism is covered. Theft after the fire or after an insured peril for 7 days. Theft is also covered. Last line, theft within 7 days following any of the above mentioned perils. Terrorism is also an inbuilt peril. Impact damage, there are no qualification. Any impact by any external physical object, including insured on items, not limited to vehicles or animals. A tree falling onto the building, it's payable. So it's a wider cover compared to earlier SFSP. Now, here when you suggest or when you insure your building to insure under BGR, you have to see what is the square feet area, carpet area in square feet or square meter, and then rate of construction. And that sum insured should be square feet or square meter of area into rate of construction. Here there is no restriction. As I told you earlier, the sum insured can be anything. So if a 1,000 square feet building and the rate of construction, normal rate of construction is 2,000. And if a proposal is coming for 20 lakhs, it's okay. 25 lakhs, it is okay. If it is 30 lakhs, it is slightly abnormal. It is 40 lakhs, it is slightly again abnormal. So it is underwriter to decide whether to underwrite. Once you underwrite, it is almost like an agreed value policy. If you are underwriting a 1,000 square feet building for 40 lakhs, that means you have accepted the rate of construction as 4,000 per square feet. In the event of a claim, no question can be asked. If a total loss, 40 lakhs will be paid. You cannot restrict stating that construction cost is only 2,000. That is not possible. So underwriting precautions to be taken. And there is no underinsurance clause. If deliberately he is taking only 1,000 rupees per square feet, claim will be payable in full to 10 lakhs. No underinsurance. If it is a partial loss, again full payment will be done. No underinsurance. See what will happen. This some examples for exam point of view. If cost of construction is less than what is declared by insured and accepted by us. For example, insured has declared 200 square meter area. Construction cost is 50,000. But the surveyor says reconstruction cost is only 80,000, not 1 crore. But still claim will be settled for 1 lakh. Now what will happen if the area is different? Carpet area declared is less than the actual area. So carpet area is 200 square meter and declared a rate of construction is 50,000. But the surveyor is telling carpet area is 210, more than the declared area. Then we will pay up to the sum insured. We will pay up to 200 square meter. Up to 1 crore we will pay. If the carpet area is declared is more than the actual, that means surveyor is telling, though they have declared 200, actual carpet area is only 180. Then we will pay 180 into 50,000. That is the value of cost of construction. So in this case, if the carpet area is less, claim will be reduced. If the carpet area is more, it is restricted to the sum insured. If the declared rate of construction is more, we have to pay in full. If the declared rate of construction is less or the sum insured is lesser than the actual value at risk, no underinsurance is applied. So in a nutshell, you have to remember all these things for Bharat Griha Raksha. There are some inbuilt covers like loss of rent, alternate accommodation, architect fees, removal of debris. And for long-term policies, escalation is allowed up to 5% per year. Please remember those figures. I am not telling 5%, 2%. Here escalation is free. If there is a let us say 10-year policy, then every year 5% of the original sum insured is added. For example, it is 100. Let's say it is 100 lakhs. 5% is 5 lakhs. So second year is 105 lakhs. Third year again 5% of 100 lakhs. That means it will be 110. Not 5% of 105. It is not cumulative. 5% of the original sum insured at inception of the policy. Now there are some add-on covers you can select with additional premium. valuable contents based on agreed value. PA cover for owner and spouse. Death only for 5 lakhs. Death should happen due to an insured peril or following an insured peril. If death happens, then it is payable. Insured peril at insured premises. So building can be covered automatically. Contents up to 20% is covered. If you want to cover up to 10 lakhs, 20% of the building submission up to 10 lakhs is automatic. If you want to cover more contents, then you can pay premium and it can be covered. So from 1/4/21, two policies, rather three policies, BGR, BSUS and BLUS. BSUS and BLUS is intended for other than dwellings. Excess and all you have to see, and declaration clause is standard add-on cover in both policy. In floater cover is inbuilt in Bharat Sukshma, the small policy floater cover is inbuilt. BLUS floater cover you can have additional cover, free cover. Now there is an important distinction between the definition of building in BGR and BLUS, BSUS and SFSP. In BGR, all additional structures are part of sum insured. Let me see whether it is there. For residential structure of home building, fittings and fixture. No. So the difference is in BLUS and BSUS, all additional structure such as garage, outhouse, security shed, tower, veranda, porch, tanks, compound wall, even solar panel, these can be covered, but it should be shown in the policy schedule as additional structure. Whereas in BGR, everything is inbuilt. In BGR, when you are telling it is a home building, even the solar panel installed at the rooftop is covered. Compound wall is covered. All garage, outhouses, security shed, everything is covered. But in BLUS, BSUS, if additional structures you want to cover, it can be covered, but it should be shown in the policy. Or simply you write additional structures within the premises to so and so sum insured. If that word is not there, then it is difficult to pay the claim. So here one difference with regard to plant and machinery, if you remember correctly, in SFSP policy, goods held in trust is not covered. But here it is automatically covered. If it is a stock held in trust is covered. If it is a machine which is taken on lease or hire is covered. Now let us see the perils. What are the difference? Compared to SFSP, here that red color wordings, it is inbuilt, including due to its own fermentation, natural heating or spontaneous combustion. It is not only fire. Those exclusions under standard fire, here it is included. Earthquake, volcanic eruption, and even tsunami is included with the STFI. Bushfire, forest fire, jungle fire, terrorism, and here impact damage by any external physical object, excluding caused by vehicle, animal, or aircraft belonging to owned by insured. So this is like a combination. SFSP is it's a restricted cover. Here it is slightly wider. Impact by any external physical object, not only by animal, vehicle, railroad vehicle. Here by any external object, but still there is an exclusion which is caused by insured's own vehicle or insured's own animal. So periods covered is SFSP plus spontaneous combustion plus forest fire plus terrorism plus EQ plus theft. It's a wider cover. Now basis of settlement or these two policies are on RIV basis. There is no option of market value basis sum insured. So if building, plant and machinery, FFF are damaged, it should be repaired within 12 months. If not repaired, then market value settlement will be given. If you remember correctly, in SFSP, I was talking about a rerouting. That rerouting word is very clear in SFSP. Though the policy is issued on RIV basis, if the client wants to settle on market value basis, there is an option. he can choose for market value settlement, then the policy will be treated as if RIV clause is not attached. So when you treat like that, then settlement is market value, under insurance is also on market value. That rerouting is absent in Bharat Sukshma Laghu. Policy says if the insured wants, you can have a market value settlement. What will happen to under insurance? Policy is silent. Now stock of raw material, it is landed cost at premises as on date of loss. Stock in process, input cost of the stock. That will be the settlement. Finished goods, it can be the manufacturing cost of the finished goods or the contract price of goods sold but not delivered. So to find out manufacturing cost, normally we add raw material cost plus process cost till the stage of finished goods, or you can have sales price minus gross profit. Agreed value items can be covered under agreed value, like bullion or unset precious stones or work of art. This is only for exam purpose. There is a comparison chart. I am not going to explain. Full is given SFSP, peril wise, SFSP, Griharaksha, Sukshma, Laghu. You can see lightning is covered. Fire peril, there is some distinction between the policies. Similarly, tsunami is not covered under SFSP unless otherwise EQ is covered. But in all other policies, it is inbuilt cover. Impact damage is a wider cover, much wider cover in BGR, but wider but slightly restricted in Sukshma and Laghu. Balance coverage, there is not much difference. Cost compelled by municipal regulations or local authorities clause or public authority clause is inbuilt under BGR, BLUS, BSUS. Professional fees, there is an increase in the coverage. Removal of debris, there is an increase in coverage. Other than that, loss of rent, it is an add-on cover under SFSP, inbuilt cover under BGR, Sukshma and Laghu. Alternate accommodation also. Under insurance is waived, completely waived for BGR. Up to 15% waiver is there for Sukshma Laghu. No waiver is there for SFSP. Similarly, additions, alterations or extensions. It is an add-on cover under SFSP. Direction no cover. Sukshma up to 15%. Laghu also up to 15%. Any additions are covered. Similarly, startup expenses 1 lakh and 5 lakh is covered. There are some specific coverage under Sukshma and Laghu. For example, money up to 50,000. It should be, it is inbuilt cover. Documents 50,000. Computer programs 5 lakhs. Personal effects 15,000. Maximum 20%. These are inbuilt cover under Sukshma and Laghu, which is not there in SFSP. Yeah. Any questions? Or we will break for 10 minutes, then we will come back. Any questions on this part?
Sir, in BGR, that plinth and foundation that can be excluded in BGR.
No.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, what about the long-term dwelling policies that was taken before 2021, sir? Are they still governed under SFSP, sir?
Yeah. What is already given, you have to continue under SFSP.
Okay, sir.
So we will break. We will come back at 12:10.
Yeah, yes, sir. Okay.
Shall we restart?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Okay. So now we have almost completed the policies except GIEAIA. We will come to that later. Let's understand what is fire hazard. So fire hazard refers to either originating risk or contributory risk or risk from construction. So originating risk refers to the cause of fire, such as an electrical spark or a lightning or a smoking, friction, or overheated materials, molten material, cutting, welding, or burner flames. So these are the elements where the fire originates. So it is an hazard. Another type of hazard, which is known as contributory risk, circumstances which increases the probability of fire occurring, which enables the fire to spread and increase the loss. For example, a construction material such as woodwork or presence of waste or hazardous material. Absence of people to raise the alarm. The moment the fire starts, people were not there to raise a fire alarm, or the premises is not accessible. Then exposure to other buildings which is having an hazardous occupation. So these are all contributory risk. And then the risk from construction. For example, wall type such as RCC, brickwork wall, corrugated iron sheet wall, asbestos cement sheeting, glass, timber. And risk increases in this order. So if the wall is made up of RCC, the risk is less or fire hazard is less. Similarly, the roof type. And then the height of the building. As far as fire hazard is concerned, a shed structure is always better than a multi-storied building, because firefighting is difficult. It becomes difficult when the height of the building increases, because the firefighting water should have some high pressure, maybe 7.5 kilogram per centimeter square. But when the height increases, there will be a pressure drop around 0.1 kilogram per centimeter square per meter of height. So when you try to fight the fire at different heights, it will not be effective compared to a shed structure. Similarly, water used to fight fire, it may damage the stocks in the lower floor. When you are trying to fight the fire at second floor, the water will flow down to the first floor and ground floor, damaging the material. Though there may not be any fire damage, but water damage will be there. So as far as fire hazard is concerned, always single story shed structure is better than a multi-storied building. And when the building is of great size, without any internal partition, then it's a very high risk. Nowadays, warehouses are coming with very big size, more than a football stadium. So in those instances, if there are no partitions, then a fire starts, then the entire material is probably, it will be damaged. And again, the floor openings or false ceilings, internal partition with the flammable material, all these things will increase the fire. Whereas in the case of a lengthy building or a large building, if compartmentalization is done with the fireproof materials, so if that particular area is divided into multiple rooms with fireproof material or fire doors, then the risk is less. Even if the fire starts, it will be restricted to one room. So all these hazards we analyze before arriving at a rate or the probable maximum loss. Now let us see what are the fire extinguishing appliances. There are two types of fire protection system, which is known as passive fire protection. Another one is active fire protection. Passive fire protection, it prevents the fire from further spreading. So for example, a fire door or compartmentation. If the larger room is divided into different compartments, then it's a passive fire protection. So it will not prevent the fire from starting. Once it is started, it will prevent it from further spreading. So it is a passive fire protection. Active fire protection systems, it will detect fire, it will alert people and then stop or contain fire. For example, if fire alarm or smoke detector, it will detect the start of fire and it will alert the people, and sometimes sprinkler, it will extinguish the fire, or or manual fire extinguishers. So these are all active fire protection systems. So fire protection systems can be a portable extinguisher or a bucket or internal hose or fire engine, trailer pumps, hydrant systems. These are different systems used to fight fire. For example, a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, it is used for electrical equipment and flammable liquids. Electrical equipment, you cannot use water. So you can use a carbon dioxide extinguisher. It can be used for flammable liquids also. Dry chemical powder, it is also used for electrical fire and flammable liquid. Foam systems are normally used for oil or gasoline type of fire, foam. And there can be a mutual aid system. If there is an industrial area where multiple industries are there, then there can be an agreement between industries that if there is any fire incident, then the other industries will also help in fighting the fire. That is mutual aid agreement. Now, if I was talking about compartmentation, if in a big warehouse or big industry, if compartments are formed, then it can be formed in two ways. One is perfect party wall, another one is party wall, normal party wall. So party wall means a wall up to roof. A perfect party wall will be above roof, maybe up to 2 feet height. So this is far better than a normal party wall where the fire can spread through the roof. If a perfect party wall, that is also eliminated. So for risk analysis, a perfect party wall is a better risk compared to normal party wall. Now we were talking about different category of material so as to analyze how that rating to be done in storage risk. I was talking about non-hazardous, hazardous category 1, category 2, category 3, coir waste, coir fiber and caddies. So when that category, when it increases from 1 to 2, risk is also increasing. So how to analyze the material to find out whether it's a non-hazardous, category 1, category 2, category 3. So there is some science into that. At least for exams or your normal underwriting purpose, this table will help you. Category 1 means solids which are moderately or slightly combustible, like wood, paper, camphor, etc. These are combustible materials coming under category 2. Sorry, category 1. Category 2 means pyrotechnic materials. That means materials which continue to burn without oxygen from outside, like sulfur, chlorine, potassium. So once it catches fire, even without oxygen supply from outside, it will continue the combustion process. So it is known as pyrotechnic material, or materials normally used to build crackers, firecrackers and all. Then the third category, materials which are self-ignitable or explosives, TNT, RDX, ammonium nitrate. Though this is the category item as far as solid goods are concerned. Now coming to liquids, flammable liquids having flash point above 65 degree is categorized as category 1, whereas below 65, above 32 is category 2, and category 3 is below 32. But at the same time, if flammable liquids below 32 are in sealed containers or jars, then it becomes category 2. Though it is below 32, if it is in sealed container or jars, it is in category 2. Similarly, even if it is less than 65, if it is stored in containers, then it will becomes category 1. Similarly, gases, inert gases becomes category 1, like nitrogen monoxide, but slightly oxidizing gases like nitrogen dioxide, it becomes category 2. Strong oxidizing agent like chlorine or nitrochloride. So these are category 3. Highly toxic materials are category 1. Materials which evolve combustible gases in contact with water, like calcium or hydrogen, so calcium or sodium, it becomes category 2. And then combustible gases like methane or natural gas, it is category 3. Similarly, waste of non-hazardous material, it is category 1. So non-hazardous material means it is not combustible, like steel or iron. These are non-combustible, copper. So it becomes category 1, sorry, non-hazardous. Now waste of non-hazardous, for example, aluminum powder or iron powder, it becomes non-hazardous. It becomes category 1. So waste of non-hazardous is category 1. Waste of category 1 is category 2. Waste of category 2 and 3 are coming under category 3. So when it is a waste or a powder form or a small chip form, hazardous factor is more. So this is as far as fire hazard and category of materials are concerned. Now coming to warranties, we normally issue the policies with the conditions and warranties. What do you mean by a warranty? Policy is the promise given by the insurer to insured. We promise that if the subject matter is damaged by one of the perils in the policy, we promise that your loss will be indemnified. Whereas a warranty is the promise given by the insured to insurer. So insured warrants that I will be using this shop only to sell grocery. So some warranties normally we attach with all policies like fire extinguishing appliances or class of construction should be class 1, no kacha construction is there. But there are some specific warranties. For example, if a shop is rated as non-hazardous, then the warranty is storage of hazardous materials not to exceed 5% of the total stock. Similarly, if a stock is category 1, then we normally issue the policy with a warranty that goods of category 2, 3 or coir waste, coir fiber and caddies are not stored therein. So that means we are ensuring that only category 1 materials are there, or rather insured is giving us a promise that my material is only category 1. I will not store 2 and 3. So he is giving a promise. So if the promise is breached and if it is material to the loss, then the insurer is having the liberty to repudiate the claim. If the warranty is not material to the loss, then insurer can take a decision. So policy is voidable. Another risk, for example, a paint factory, if we are issuing a policy to water-based paints, you can see the rate is lower. Then there will be a warranty that other than water-based paint manufacturing is not carried out. If you carry out nitrocellulose-based paint manufacturing, then you should declare that premium should be charged accordingly. Now we will discuss one term concept known as PML. There are two terms, maximum possible loss and then maximum probable loss. So maximum probable loss is a most pessimistic view, like worst case scenario. We were discussing about various fire extinguishing appliances, hydrant systems, compartmentalization, various measures we used to take or we used to take to prevent or reduce the fire hazard. So in this assessment of maximum possible loss, we will not consider any of these estimates, any of these protection devices. We simply estimate as a worst case scenario. It is also known as shock loss, amount subject to loss, maximum foreseeable loss. So that means it will be almost equal to the sum insured. Now there is another term which we are more familiar or which we are using for underwriting is PML, probable maximum loss or maximum post probable loss. So MPL or PML both are same. In this case, the engineer gives an estimate by considering the fire protection devices, protective safeguards, construction materials, size and occupancy. So based on all these factors, fire hazard factors, he assesses the probable maximum loss. There are three scenarios he normally uses for assessing PML. One is unconfined vapor cloud explosion, then high pressure equipment rupture or dust cloud explosion. The first one is used mainly in chemical factories where the or distillery where the vapor will be always present. inflammable vapor will be always present. So if there is an ignition source triggers a fire, then how much loss will happen? That estimate is done by unconfined vapor cloud explosion. The amount of vapor, its calorific value, how much energy it can release, to what extent it can release, what extent it can damage the property. That calculation is done. Next is high pressure equipment rupture, a boiler. When the boiler explodes, to what radius that shock waves will travel. So they will draw circles around the explosive or equipment where the probability of explosion is there. The first circle, which is very near to the equipment, will have maximum losses, 100%. The next circle, slightly higher diameter, will have 80% of the losses. Next circle, the materials there in the third circle, susceptible to 50% of the value loss. So like that, they will draw circles and do an assessment based on the material in that vessel, and if there is an explosion, how much energy it can release, how much distance it can travel. Next is dust cloud explosion. This is like, for example, a plywood manufacturing factory or woodworking factories where always there will be dust cloud in the industry. So if there's a fire starts, how much it can travel. So all this assessment an engineer will do, and he will declare the PML of the industry is or property is this much. But there can be an error in the PML assessment, which is known as PML burst or PML error. What will happen? The actual loss being larger in size than PML. So this is a very serious issue. This will expose the net retention of the company due to improper RI placements. Even it will be an problem for reinsurers. So this will seriously affect premium rating. Considering a low PML, we would have charged a lesser premium. So you take two examples, a risk A, where sum insured is 100 crore and PML is 15 crore. Risk B, sum insured is 60 crore and PML is 55 crore. That means in the second risk, though the sum insured is less, PML is more. So always risk is better if PML is lesser, not the sum insured. Irrespective of the sum insured, if the PML is more, risk is high. If the PML is less, risk is less. Now, what will happen in the case of a PML error or PML burst? If the estimation is done for a particular amount, underwriting is done or risk is accepted, premium is charged, and our underwriting is done based on that PML, and then there is a PML burst, it will have a serious consequences. So people who have handled RI, it will be very easy. For others, you can just follow the example. Sum insured is 2,500 crores. Let's say there is a loss of 1,000 crore. Now the first scenario is PML wrongly estimated, or I have taken a thumb rule PML. Just 1 minute. I have taken a thumb rule PML of 30%. 30% of 2,500 is 750 crore. Then normally when you do the direct underwriting in operating offices, automatically an underwriting happens in reinsurance department, RI underwriting, where it starts with obligatory session. Now it is only 4%. Earlier it was 5%. In this example, it is shown as 5%. So 5% of 750 will go to obligatory. Obligatory is going to GIC. Then there is net 1, then treaty, then net 2. Balance will be fagged out to the reinsurers. So net 1 and net 2, that sequence and all will vary. Now maybe actually it depends on the insurance companies. There can be quota share PT or so many things are there, but it is only for example. Please understand that net 1 and net 2 means it is going to our balance sheet directly. Treaty means that is given to GIC. So in this example, when the PML is divided, 20% in going to net 1, 26.7% going to net 2. That means 46.7% of the risk is underwritten, like it is going to our balance sheet. In the sense, if there is a loss, 46.7% we may have to shell out from our pocket. Another 46.7% plus 5% obligatory will be given by GIC. 1.6% will be given by the FAC reinsurers if FAC is placed. So 46.7% we are spending from our balance sheet. If this is correctly estimated, let us say the correct estimate of PML is 50%, that means 1,250 crore. What would have happened? Obligatory cession again 5%. Net one, since 150 crore is net one and net two is 200 crore, restriction is there. So we would have utilized only 12% plus 16%. So 28% we would have used from our pocket. Another 28% GIC would have given, and FAC reinsurers we would have placed, and we would have got a reimbursement from FAC reinsurers to the tune of 39%. So in this case, if that PML error happens, our net is exposed more than expected. Similarly, GIC also will have an hit. So that is why we are taking all precautions to assess the PML and do the underwriting on PML basis. So in effect, PML burst is detrimental to insurers and reinsurers because it exposes our balance sheet unexpectedly, unwantedly. We could have placed with the various reinsurers a small percentage of FAC. Now coming to fire insurance claims. So that I told you to remember those condition numbers. Here it is written. Condition number misrepresentation. Condition number 2. Policy will cease on expiry of 7 days from the date of fall or displacement of building. Condition number 3 is alteration, risk alteration condition. Condition number 4 is marine policy shall pay first. Condition number 5 is cancellation. 6, insured to notify the insurer of loss within 15 days. He has to submit details, provide plan specification. Company shall not be liable after the expiry of 12 months from the date of loss unless the claim is pending action or arbitration. Condition number 7, insurer can enter, take and keep possession of premises and dispose the property. Insurer can exercise his right till the claim is finally determined or withdrawn by the insured. Insured cannot compel the insured to incur any liability to the insured or abandon the property. So abandoning of property in fire insurance is not possible. Condition number 8, specific for fraud. Condition number 9, basis of settlement. How you will settle. Reinstatement by company in a reasonably sufficient manner. Insured to submit relevant documents. So this talks about how we are going to settle the loss. Even we can reinstate the property. Who? Insurer. Condition number 10 is average clause, 11 is contribution, 12 is subrogation, 13 is arbitration, 14 is notice, should be in printed form, written form. 15 talks about reinstatement of sum insured after the loss. So these condition numbers, they may ask, you please remember. Now, how we will settle the claim? When the claim is reported, a surveyor will be deputed. Survey fee will be paid as per the norms. Salvage disposed as per procedure laid down. And then claim is settled based on the financial limit specified as per the current FSO. Now, in all property claims, we have to follow a principle, RD safer. So all claims should be done only in this sequence. If you follow the sequence, you will end up with correct answer. If you violate this sequence, then you will end up with the wrong answer in any example. So any property claim, not only fire claim, any property claim starts with the reinstatement value. So you have to find out if a building is damaged or a machinery is damaged, what is the reinstatement value of the building or replacement value of the machinery or reinstatement value of the stock, replacement value of the stock. Next step is depreciation. Depreciation is the wear and tear factor. It is decided by only surveyor based on the age of the equipment or age of the building and the condition of use. Depreciation will be decided. So if policy is issued on RIV, depreciation step is not applicable. Otherwise, depreciation to be applied on RIV to arrive at market value. Next deduction is salvage. So when you deduct salvage, it is you are not deducting salvage. You are deducting in bracket salvage minus expenses related to salvage. You would have incurred some expenses for advertisement or segregation exclusive for salvage. That is deducted from the salvage amount. Then the net amount is deducted from after market value or depreciated value. Then comes the average clause. So average clause is applied after the salvage. So you should never apply before that. So average clause, you know, I have explained many times, loss into sum insured by sum to be insured. So when you apply average clause after the salvage clause, all the salvage and expenses are proportionately divided between insured property and uninsured property. Then comes the franchise. Franchise is not applicable for fire policies, so leave it. Next is excess as per the guideline. Next is reinstatement premium. If a property is damaged in fire policy as per fire policy terms and conditions, the sum insured is reinstated to the original position automatically. In a mediclaim policy, once you utilize the sum insured, it is never reinstated unless otherwise nowadays new add-on covers are there. Normal policies, it will not be reinstated. Only balance sum insured will be applicable for the second claim. But in a fire policy, reinstatement is automatic. It is the duty of the insurer to reduce the reinstatement premium from the net claim amount. Whether he is deducting the reinstatement premium or not, as far as the insured is concerned, his sum insured automatically reinstates to the previous position. For example, he is having a sum insured of 100 crore. He is claiming the first claim 10 crore. Claim is pending. Second claim, there is a loss of again 100 crore. Full claim 100 crore is payable. So for the first loss and 10 crore, it is the duty of the insurer to reduce the reinstatement premium. What is reinstatement premium? The loss amount into policy rate into proportional pro rata number of days from the date of loss to the date of expiry. So now we are coming to the new policy, industrial all risk policy. Industrial all risk policy is a package policy. It is coming under fire section. So there can be questions. It is to cover industrial manufacturing risk. Originally, it is designed for other than petrochemical and MD sum insured up to 100 crore minimum at one or more locations. So minimum sum insured is 100 crore, but nowadays different insurers are filing the product, maybe more than 50 crore also. We can issue IR policy. Originally, it is for 100 crore. So it is having two sections. Section 1 is material damage. Section 2 is business interruption. So industrial all risk policy is a package policy. It is an all risk policy. Perils are not listed in the policy. Only exclusions are listed. So it is the duty of the insurer to prove that subject matter is damaged by one of the exclusions. Then only you can repudiate the claim. Otherwise, all claims are acceptable. For understanding purpose, all risk means fire, MBD, boiler explosion, theft, burglary. In simple terms, physical damage and physical loss is covered under all risk. Whenever you see these two words, physical damage and physical loss, it is indicated that it is an all risk policy. So all risks are covered, including mechanical, electronic breakdown, boiler explosion, except the exclusions. Section 2 is for business interruption or consequential loss. There can be two business interruption. One is fire loss of profit or machinery loss of profit. Fire loss of profit is compulsory. Machinery loss of profit is optional. Here, no selection allowed. All machinery or all buildings to be covered in the premises, and piping and cables up to 50% of MBD sum insured need not be considered for premium calculation. So in big factories, the value of pipes and cables itself will exceed 15% of the plant and machinery value. Up to 15% pipes and cables you can deduct from the MBD sum insured. However, coverage will continue. It does not mean that pipes and cables are not covered under the policy. Coverage is there. You need not take the sum insured for premium calculation. That means policy will have the sum insured, policy will have the coverage, premium will not be there. It's a facility given for IAR. So salient features are, it is an all risk policy subject to specific exclusions, excluded causes and excluded property. Property is covered on RIV basis, only stock on market value basis. But here also, if the insured wants, he can switch over to market value basis after a claim. Normally, claims are settled on RIV basis, stock on market value. MBD claims are on RIV basis for both total loss and partial loss. If you see the MBD policy under engineering, partial losses are settled on RIV, total losses are settled on market value. But here in IIR, whether it is total loss or partial loss, MBD claims are settled on RIV. And underinsurance is applied as on date of reinstatement. Automatic reinstatement period is 12 months. Policy is silent about extension of reinstatement. I think I remember I have told you regarding an application of underinsurance on RIV policies. In market value policies, it is applied on date of loss. In RIV policy, it is applied on date of reinstatement. So, in normal SFSP policy, a loss can happen on the last day of the policy. Then 12 months reinstatement period. Then further 12 months for extension of reinstatement period. So value of the property as on inception and as on date of reinstatement, there can be a time period of 36 months. So it means that the insured should take proper precaution and escalations while taking the policy on RIV basis. Otherwise, there is a chance of underinsurance because underinsurance is applied on date of reinstatement. It may be after 24 months of date of loss. Right? It is the same in IAR. Underinsurance up to 15% is waived in IAR. If it is more than 15%, then full underinsurance is applicable. That means if the underinsurance is 14.9%, no underinsurance. 15%, no underinsurance. 15.1%, full 15.1%, 1% underinsurance is applicable. Normal MPD policies and warranties are there with regard to overhauling of turbines. It is not there in this. Declaration facility for stock is not available in the original policy, but nowadays companies are allowing based on filed declaration clause. Terrorism is optional. Now we will see what are the main exclusions. I have seen questions being asked, and unless you are very thorough about the exclusions, you will not be able to answer it. Even for claim settlements also, this subtle difference in exclusions you have to understand. Then only you can settle the claims in IAR effectively. Otherwise, you will be either you will be settling all claims or you will be repudiating the claims. The only important exclusions I am explaining here: faulty or defective design, material or workmanship, inherent vice, latent defect, gradual deterioration, deformation or distortion, wear and tear. Second exclusion is interruption of water supply, gas, electricity or fuel systems, or failure of effluent disposal systems to and from the premises. But there is a qualification for this. See the red color. Unless damage by a cause not excluded in the policy ensues, and then the insurer shall be liable only for such ensuing damage. That means if any damage happens, let us say an explosion or a breakdown due to faulty, defective design or material or a wear and tear, then all the ensuing damages are payable. All the other damages are payable. We can exclude only that particular property where this defective design or wear and tear is found. All other properties are payable. Similarly, if there is no water supply or gas supply, it can lead to an explosion. So all those damages are payable. But if there is due to an interruption, water supply or gas, electricity, if damage is limited to only that equipment, then it is not payable. For example, a cold storage covered under IAR policy. There is a failure of electric supply to the premises from the grid. This causes stoppage of machinery and the stock got spoiled. The stock of milk is damaged due to spoilage as there was no electric supply, which is not payable under the policy. So here there are no perils acted. It is only spoilage of milk in the cold storage. So it is not payable under the policy. Whereas in a chemical plant, if there is a failure of water supply, earlier it was failure of electric supply, here it's failure of water supply. Then there is a reactor, overheating of reactor and explosion. The damage caused by explosion is payable, though it is approximately caused by shortage of water. So these explosion damages are treated as ensuing damages. So you should understand this subtle difference. We cannot repudiate a claim stating that proximate cause is shortage of water. It is not, it is an exclusion. All ensuing damages are payable. Collapse of a building or cracking of building is excluded under GIEAIA. Another exclusion is corrosion, rust extremes or change in temperature, dampness, dryness, wet or dry, rot, fungus, shrinkage, evaporation, loss of weight, pollution, contamination, change in color, flavor, texture or finish, or action of light, vermin, insects, gnawing or scratching, unless such loss is caused directly by damage to the property. Here it is the reverse. First there is a damage, then further aggravation of damage due to rust. So everything is payable. For example, if a building develops cracks or a part of building collapses, such losses will not be paid unless this crack or collapse is caused by an insured peril. For example, an earthquake or a huge fire in the nearby building, and then it causes crack, it is payable. Similar example of milk. The stock of milk is damaged due to spoilage as there was no electric supply due to a damage to property within the premises. For example, there is a fire in the substation within the premises of the insured. So there is a shortage of electric supply to the cold storage. Milk is damaged. Then that milk is payable because there is a peril acted within the subject matter covered under the policy or within the location, within the property. A property is damaged. So further milk damage is also payable. If there is an explosion in a chemical plant, not only that plant chemical, that reactor is damaged, this leakage or splashing of chemical can cause corrosion damage or rusting damage to all the surrounding plant and machinery. So you cannot reject a claim stating that this machinery is damaged by rust or corrosion. It is payable because rusting is followed by an insured peril, which is an explosion. I hope these are clear. These are the small differences which makes a claim payable. In fact, all the claims are payable under GIEAIA. Most of the claims, unless otherwise it is excluded causes, it is payable or excluded property. But you have to differentiate the amount of loss which is damaged by peril or damaged by ensuing damages. Some property specifically excluded from GIEAIA, like money, check, goods held in trust or commission, unless it is expressly stated in the policy. Vehicles are excluded. Railway locomotives, rolling stock, that train bogies, watercraft, aircraft, spacecraft, property in transit other than within the premises, property in course of demolition, construction, land, driveways, pavements, roads, runways, even though it is within the premises, unless you are specifically covering it, it is excluded. Livestock, growing crops, there is an exclusion number G. Property undergoing alteration, repair, testing, installation or servicing, including materials and supplies, therefore, if directly attributed to the operation of the work being performed thereon, unless damaged by a cause not otherwise excluded ensues, and then the insurer will be liable only for such ensuing loss. This is an exclusion. However, this exclusion was modified to the extent of deletion of alteration, repair and servicing. These words were removed by TSE. The new word will be, new sentence will be property undergoing testing, installation or including materials and supplies. So if the property or machine is under repair, it is under servicing, then it is deemed to be covered under the policy. But if the machine is under erection or testing, then it is not covered. Normally we issue IAR or SFSP policy with a clause testing and commissioning clause. If the machineries are under testing or erection, then it is not covered under operational policies. It should be covered under a project policy. Similar to SFSP, if the property is covered under marine, then damage to property will be indemnified by a marine policy. Now we are coming to the LOP section, consequential section. So business interruption policy or consequential loss insurance or loss of profit insurance, it covers anticipated profit, net profit, continuing trading expenses, standing charges, and increased trading expenditure, ICOW. So normally an MT policy, like an SFSP policy, covers capital assets. If there is any damage, we will pay, indemnify the cost of the asset. But when there is a damage to asset, naturally production will be hampered and the profit will be affected. The profit can be covered under LOP policy. You take this example of a bakery where 500 loaves of bread at 4 rupee is sold, 2000 rupees. Expenditure is 400 rupees, wheat flour. This is raw material expenses. Another expenditure monthly basis is rent, salary, electricity. It is amounting to 8,000 rupees. So when you calculate for on a monthly basis, sales, or rather we call it as turnover, is 60,000. Expenses for raw material, wheat flour, it is 12,000. We call it as direct expenses or variable expenses. Expenses monthly we incur is known as like fixed expenses or standing charges, 8,000 rupees. So net profit is 60 minus 12 minus 8. So in a LOP policy, what we are covering is the first slide, net profit plus continuing trading expenses or net profit plus standing charges, net profit plus fixed expenses. Another term for this is gross profit. So from this example, you can calculate gross profit in two ways. One is net profit 40,000 plus your fixed expenses 8,000, 48,000. This is gross profit. Net profit plus fixed expenses, which is known as gross profit. This is known as addition basis. You can calculate gross profit by another method, sales or turnover minus variable expenses. So this is known as difference basis. There is no board to explain. So you have to imagine, I will tell you an example. You just imagine, I am running a tea shop. I am selling tea for 10 rupee per cup. Let's say I am selling 100 cup. So my turnover is 100 into 10,000 rupees. That is the selling price or turnover. Daily turnover, monthly turnover, or yearly turnover. The way you want to take, you can take. Now to manufacture tea, I want some raw materials. It can be milk, tea powder, sugar, water, then electricity. I have to spend some expenses for rent, salary, a part of electricity, which is fixed expenses, whether I use or not, I have to pay monthly some electricity charges. And then I expect some profit. I add some profit to it. Finally, I derive my per cup tea sales price is 10 rupee. So if you write it as an equation, turnover is equal to all my raw material cost. We call it as variable expenses plus fixed expenses plus net profit. So variable expenses like cost of milk, cost of sugar, cost of tea powder, these are directly proportional to the turnover. If turnover is zero, no variable expenses are incurred. If turnover is maximum variable expenses are incurred. Other type, the second type of expenses are known as fixed expenses. It is irrespective of the turnover. Whether turnover is zero or maximum, expenses are fixed. My rents are fixed, salary is fixed, part of electricity bill is fixed. So these are fixed expenses. So the equation is turnover equal to variable expenses plus fixed expenses plus net profit. You can rewrite the equation. Turnover is equal to variable expenses plus GP. So when you modify to get more accurate result, we rewrite it as turnover plus closing stock minus opening stock is equal to variable expenses plus GP. People who are having accounts background will understand fast. So this equation you have to remember for any LOP claim or underwriting, and then for stocks settlement of stock claim settlement under fire policy also. So now coming back, as I told you, what we are covering under LOP policy, the sum insured is anticipated gross profit. Now gross profit can be computed by two formulas: net profit plus fixed expenses or standing charges, or turnover minus variable expenses. The first basis is known as addition basis. Second basis is known as difference basis. If the insured is silent, we normally issue the policy on difference basis. Addition basis policy we normally issue on specific request, but in this case, insured has to declare what fixed expenses or standing charges he want to cover, because gross profit is derived by net profit plus insured standing charges. There can be thousands of fixed expenses or insured standing charges in a factory, SC1 to SC1000. So insured can have a selection. I want to cover only SC1 plus SC2 plus SC3. Then the gross profit definition is net profit plus SC1 plus SC2 plus SC3. In the event of a claim, our claim will be restricted to net profit, SC1, SC2 and SC3. We are not bothered about SC4 to SC1000. I hope the matter is clear. Whereas if the policy is issued on difference basis, gross profit is calculated from turnover minus variable expenses. So matter is very simple. All fixed expenses are deemed to be covered. There is nothing to be declared in the policy. In the first case, in addition basis, you have to attach a list of standing charges to be covered under the policy. Whereas because it's a selection, in the second case, no list to be attached with the policy. All charges, all standing charges are deemed to be covered. So second basis is best for avoiding disputes in the claim. First basis is good for insured to reduce the premium. So this is more important when you are giving a refund under LOP policy based on the declaration of gross profit. So you have to see on what basis you have given gross profit. Then you have to ask the insured or chartered accountant to certify gross profit on that basis. Because when you calculate gross profit on both bases, there will be difference if selection is allowed. Otherwise, no difference. Now, what is net profit? There is a definition in the policy. So you have to remember the factors which are considered to calculate net profit, factors which are not considered to calculate net profit. Net trading profit, exclusive of all capital receipts and accretions and all outlay properly chargeable to capital, resulting from the business of the insured at the premises, after due provision has been made for all standing and other charges, including depreciation, but before deduction of any taxation chargeable on profits. So for net profit, net trading profit arising exclusively from the business. He may have other business also, but what is covered under the policy, that business net trading profit we may have to take. For example, he may get a profit from his production. He may get some profit from his share business, or he would have given some building for rent. Those business we will not consider. What we have covered is only the factory. So net profit derived from the production of goods. And then all the what is remaining after all cost of production, that is like minus VE, variable expenses, and charges incurred for running the business, that is fixed expenses, including depreciation. Property taxes are considered as standing charges. Factors which not considered, income from loss or profit from other activity. And then income tax and profit tax are not deducted. So this net profit is before deduction of any taxation. These are the example of fixed expenses. You can have n number of items: salary, wage, rent, repair and maintenance, administration. These are the normal heads you can see in the balance sheet. Factory overheads, selling overheads, interest, depreciation, like that. These are the variable expenses: raw material cost, power and fuel, excise duty, sales commission, stores and spares. So fixed cost, insurers, we call it as standing charges. Variable cost, we call it as working expenses. So when you go with the addition basis, again, it is net profit plus insured standing charges. There's a selection there. Or it can be, if it is a net loss factory, insured standing charges minus net loss. So if full standing charges are not insured, then the GP will be modified. Insured standing charges minus insured standing charges into net loss divided by total standing charges. So the net loss is apportioned between insured standing charges and total standing charges to arrive at a GP. If the factory is on net loss basis and if there is a selection of standing charges, then GP is modified as insured standing charges minus insured standing charges into net loss divided by total standing charges. A portion of net loss which corresponds to insured standing charges only will be deducted from the insured standing charges. Now, how the claim is paid under LOP? It is very simple. LOP claim payable is 1 plus 2 minus 3. What is 1? Loss of GP. What is 2? Increased cost of working. What is 3? Which is to be deducted? Any savings in standing charges. Now, let us see one by one. Loss of GP. What is loss of GP? Rate of GP into loss of turnover. Now, what is rate of GP? Last financial year GP by last financial year turnover. Normally, GP is not expressed in specific terms like 5 crore, 10 crore. In GP, normally expressed as a percentage of turnover, 10%, 15%, 20%. So loss of turnover is found out by standard turnover adjusted for trend, special circumstance variations minus turnover during interruption period. I will explain with a figure, then it will be more easy. Let us assume that a loss has happened on 1st of June 2023. Then there is an interruption period up to August 31st. June, July, August, no production or the production is less. So interruption period is the period after the loss during which turnover is 0 or less than the normal turnover. So for example, turnover is 100 units. During interruption period, turnover can be 0, turnover can be 10, 20, 30, 40, 90, 99. It is less than the normal. So the fire or any peril would have happened. It is affecting the production. That's all. It need not be 0. So that period is known as interruption period. So interruption period starts from 1st of June 2023. It comes back to normalcy on 1st of September. So it comes back to 100 units on September 1st. Now we have to see a corresponding period in the last financial year. So 2023 is known as current financial year. 2022 is last financial year. So last financial year, corresponding period starting from June 1st to August 31st is known as standard period, the yellow color, standard period. So first we have to find out what is standard period. Then you have to find out what is standard turnover. Standard turnover is the turnover during standard period. So June, July, August. When you take standard turnover, you have to see 2-3 things, whether any trend in turnover is applicable. See, normally a production of June, July, August 2022 will not be repeated in June, July, August 23. We are concerned with production or turnover during the interruption period of June, July, August. So you cannot assume that June, July, August 22 production will be repeated in June, July, August. Either it will be increased or it will be decreased. So depending on the divisional manager or branch manager, his efficiency or his working attitude, the premium may go up compared to last month or it will go down. This is known as trend in business. So the trend in business you have to apply on standard turnover. Point number one. Point number two, any special circumstances. For example, last 2022, July was employee strike. So when you take 3 months turnover, actually you are getting a turnover of June and August only because July was employee strike. That employee strike will not repeat in 2023. So that is a special circumstances. You have to extrapolate 2 months to 3 months to get a standard turnover. Or some variations. There can be only 3 machines which were operating during June, July, August. Now the insured has purchased a new machine. So there are 4 machines during the interruption period. That means output of 3 machines to be extrapolated to 4 machines to get standard turnover. So once you get standard turnover like this, after application of trend, special circumstances and variations, you have to compare that standard turnover with the interruption turnover. The difference is loss of turnover. And loss of turnover is multiplied with the rate of GP. Rate of GP is taken from the last year balance sheet, GP by last year turnover. That is rate of GP. So rate of GP into loss of turnover will give you loss of GP. That will give you loss of GP. Now, next point or next figure we have to, next amount we have to pay is increased cost of working. Insured would have spent some expenses to maintain the turnover during the interruption period, June, July, August. Suppose he has taken some machine on lease or a building on lease so that he is maintaining the turnover. You can call it as a loss minimization expenses in MD policy. Here it is known as increased cost of working. So those hiring charges, those additional expenses which is incurring to maintain the turnover is payable subject to a maximum of loss of GP thereby avoided. So it is subject to an economic limit. That economic limit, suppose he is incurring an amount of 10 lakhs and then he is avoiding a GP loss of 15 lakhs, then 10 lakhs is payable. Suppose he is incurring 10 lakhs, thereby he avoided GP loss of 5 lakhs, then only 5 lakhs is payable. Now ICOW is also subject to the underinsurance condition of insured standing charges by total standing charges. If the policy is issued on addition basis and insured has taken only selected standing charges as insured, not 1000 standing charges insured, only SC1 plus SC2 plus SC3. Then ICOW is equal, ICOW payable is equal to increased cost of working into SC1 plus SC2 plus SC3 divided by SC1 plus 2 up to SC1000 total standing charges. So this is how LOP claim is worked out. Third, next point we have to see is average clause for the LOP. Average clause is applied on sum insured, sum to be insured. Here sum to be insured is considered as annual GP, the green color, where it is 12 months before the date of loss. So you count 12 months backwards from the date of loss. That is the annual period. That turnover is annual turnover. That GP is annual GP. That annual GP is compared with the sum insured to arrive at the value at risk or the underinsurance. Then underinsurance applied accordingly. So here the indemnity period is the period which is selected by the insured at the time of taking the policy. It can be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 15 months, maybe up to 36 months. But the interruption period can be lesser than the indemnity period selected in the policy. It can be equal to the indemnity period selected in the policy. It can be more than the indemnity period selected in the policy. If it is lesser than the indemnity period selected in the policy, then we modify the indemnity period to the lesser value. That means if only 3 months interruption is there, the new indemnity period will be 3 months. But indemnity period in the policy is 6 months, but actual interruption is 9 months, then we will restrict our our indemnification to 6 months only, because that is the period selected in the policy. Now there are 2-3 important clauses. One is known as deferred indemnity period. Here we are allowing the insured to commence the indemnity period at a later date than the date of damage. Normally, the interruption period or the redefined indemnity period starts from the date of loss till the production turnover becomes the normal turnover. So with this add-on cover or clause, we allow the insured to defer, to delay the start of indemnity period by some months. It is very heavy risk. For example, a silent risk, it is deferred to the extent of silent period. We can allow, provided this clause is attached. There is another clause known as accumulated stock. For example, there is an interruption for 3 months and his expected turnover is 1000 units per month. And at the time of loss, let us say 2000 units were in stock. So 2 months he will manage the turnover with that stock from the stores. Net effect, surveyor will find only reduction of turnover for 1 month. Whereas what happened? His stock is depleted. 2 months stock which he was having was depleted. So he is deprived of that stock in future sales. So normally we will pay that accumulated stock if this clause is attached, provided he is not able to replenish the stock within the indemnity period selected in the policy. That is not written in the policy anywhere, but as per the indemnity principle, if the insured is not able to replenish the stock within the indemnity period selected in the policy, then that stock sold to maintain the turnover is payable as part of a LOP claim. If he is able to replenish the stock, that means his production is more than the turnover, then that depletion of stock is not payable. Now, departmental clause, I will explain with an example. Let us assume the insured is having 3 departments, A, B, C, and these 3 departments balance sheet can be prepared separately. He is able to prepare balance sheet separately. It does not mean that balance sheet should be separate. If required, he can bifurcate the expenses and revenue for ABC. Then department clause, if it is attached with the policy, then what will happen? If there is a loss in department A, so before loss production was 100, after loss it is 50. What happens in department B and C? They have increased the production. 100 becomes 125, 50 becomes 75. So total production, if you see, before loss 250, after loss 250. So straight away surveyor will tell, on the first look he will tell no LOP claim is payable because there is no loss of turnover. But with the departmental clause, we see the loss in different departments separately. So there is a loss in department A. So we will pay to the tune of 50. But there is a condition, one, underinsurance will be applicable for all departments put together. Annual gross profit of all departments will be taken into consideration, and then sum insured will be compared with GPA, GPB plus GPC. Another condition is that this condition is not written in the policy, but based on indemnity principle, if he is diverting the raw material, if he is diverting the utilities of department A to department B and C, that means if department A is working, he will not be in a position to produce department B for 125 or department C for 75. Utilizing the resources of A, he is producing more. Then in that case, we will not consider the claim. Similarly, if he is not able to sell whatever he is producing, then also we will not consider the claim. Now we are coming to the final session, which is known as contingent BA. Before that, any LOP claim is payable only when material damage claim is admissible, which is known as material damage proviso. That means LOP claim for a premises is admitted only when a material damage happens in that premises and that claim is admitted. But there are certain instances we admit LOP claim for a premises without physical loss in that premises. Those covers are known as contingent BI cover. For example, prevention of access and suppliers customer premises, public utilities. So these are the common contingent business interruption covers we used to give as add-on cover where material damage proviso is not applicable. Let us see what is prevention of access. Insured premises is shown by the dark blue circle. From 5 kilometer radius of the insured premises, coverage is applicable. Suppose prevention of access cover is given, I will tell you what will happen. There should be an insured peril, and then there should be a damage within the 5 kilometer radius of the insured premises. This 5 kilometer radius property need not be owned by insured. It may be owned by government or private property. So there is a damage. In this case, there is a road leading to insured premises. There is a bridge collapse due to flood and storm. So there is an insured peril acting within 5 kilometer radius. There is a damage. Then prevention of access. Employees are not able to access the insured premises. There will be a production loss or turnover loss, GP loss. It is payable up to 30 days. Maximum limit is 30 days over the policy time access. Loss should happen by an insured peril within 5 kilometer radius. Access should be prevented because of that loss. Then the claim is admissible up to 30 days, right? There is another term known as denial of access. It is also called ingress or ingress. Denial of access or ingress or ingress. This is not covered under the policy. The difference is here there is no insured peril, there is no damage, but anticipating a cyclone, public authority is putting a ban or a barricade, so access is prevented. Actual peril has not acted, but anticipating a peril, there is a denial of access. So that is not covered under the policy. You understood the difference between prevention of access and denial of access. Now coming to supplier customer premises. Any industry depends on various suppliers for raw material, and it depends on various customers for its final product, sale of final product, or turnover depends on various customers. If turnover depends on one customer, that means 100% dependency on that customer. If the turnover depends on 3 customers, then maybe 33.3% on each customer, or it may vary also. In this example, I have written 15% dependency on first customer, second customer again 5%. The first customer may be supplying to the second customer. He may be assembling one of the part of the insured. He may be making a machine and he is supplying to the another customer. It is known as second tier customer who is not directly related to the insured. Now, this is also a contingent BA because there is no damage within the blue circle of insured property. But damage happens in the customer premises. If, let us say, the 15% dependent customer is not working, his premises is damaged by fire, he is no longer buying the finished products from our insured. That means he is having a GP loss of 15%, which is payable under our policy. So there should be an insured peril at customer premises. There should be a GP loss. Then it is payable. Similarly, supplier. There can be multiple suppliers. So if there is a loss in supplier premises, insured is not getting the raw material. There is a turnover loss, GP loss. It is payable. So this cover, the rating of this cover depends on the dependency of suppliers and customer. If he is having multiple customer, multiple supplier, there is minimum chance of turnover getting affected. So we can give that cover with less premium. If a single customer, sole supplier, then it is heavy risk. Though we are giving coverage, it is limited to, you see the following table. If it is named Indian, named customer or named supplier Indian, then up to 20% of the BI sum insured is covered. Coverage is restricted to Flexa cover plus AOG cover. If it is an unnamed Indian, coverage is restricted to 10%, only Flexa cover. If it is named foreign supplier or foreign customer, only 10%, only Flexa cover, no AG cover. Unnamed foreign, no coverage. So now if you have any doubt, I have almost completed. See, please understand that it is very difficult to satisfy both ends, scale 1 and scale 4. But each slide is prepared based on the questions asked in the previous years. So wherever questions have been asked, I have tried to include those slides. And wherever you will have a logical doubts, what is coverage, what is covered, what is not covered. If it is only figures, what is excess applicable in IAR policy, I have not included. I'm not taken the pain to explain also. So these slides are framed based on the previous historical questions. Now, if you have any doubt, you can ask now.
Sir, that clauses you explain in FLOP, in that
Which clause?
two clauses you explain, sir, accumulation of stock clause and another one was accumulation of stock clause, another was
Departmental clause.
departmental clause. In these two clauses, when the claim is not payable, in what cases the claim is not payable? That could not understand, sir, that point.
No, if, for example, departmental clause, if that clause is not there, you see this example, total turnover before loss is 250. Total turnover after loss is also 250. Because the loss in Department A is compensated by extra production B and C. So as far as insurance company is concerned, there is no loss of turnover. We will not pay the claim. But if department clause is attached, the turnover loss we consider based on departmental output.
Okay, even if clause is applicable, then if there are cases when claim is not payable.
If this clause is attached with the policy, then we will admit the claim. If the clause is not attached, we will not admit the claim. It's a free clause. Subject to certain conditions, I have told you. Resources are not diverted, sufficient order is in hand, entire production will be sold as hot cake. So those conditions we have to apply. Indemnity principle will be there in any claim.
One more
Sir, will
doubt.
that will not come under increased cost of working. For that stock, we are already having the stock. That stock is being used to maintain the sale. That point is not coming under increased cost of working.
No. You are talking about now accumulated stock loss.
Yes, sir.
Increased cost of working is different where he is incurring an expenses to maintain the turnover. Here he is having stock in hand. That is what I told you an example per month 1000 unit production, 1000 unit sales. So in his godown he is having 2 months stock, 2000. So even if the plant is shut down for 3 months, 2 months he will maintain from the godown stock. But what will happen next month? There will be a reduction in sales. But next month we will not consider because we will tell on August 31st, your interruption period is over. You have come back to normalcy. But next month, he may not be able to get a full sales because already his stocks are depleted. So in effect, the turnover loss will be postponed, provided he is having sufficient order in hand than the production. But if his production is more and his sales is less, then it will not have any impact. And whenever we consider accumulated stock loss, we will be considering it for the full indemnity period provided in the policy, 12 months or 24 months or 6 months. In that period, if he is able to replenish the stock, then no claim. If he is not able to replenish, that means that period there is a drastic reduction in stock, depletion in stock. That stock we will pay.
Thank you, sir.
Apart from the turnover loss.
Thank you.
Sir, one doubt regarding contingent BI. On diagram you have shown. that road or that bridge collapsed, it should be that insured peril or is
It's insured
some
peril.
malicious.
Insured peril.
Okay, okay,
No, insured peril.
okay, sir.
Any
Okay,
insured peril. Not because excluded peril, that's all.
okay.
Sir,
Not
we
doubt.
are collecting the reinstatement premium. So let us say loss has been admitted, and after 10 days again loss has been reported. So you were telling that in that case full sum insured will be there. So are we not logically defying the principle of indemnity in that case?
No, policy
Because already
condition
there
is,
is a loss.
that is what policy condition is like that. He can claim for the full sum insured if applicable. Suppose he has not reinstated, then that machine may not be there. Suppose he has reinstated next day, but you have not paid the claim, you have not collected reinstatement premium, that is your headache. But if he has reinstated that machine or property, he can claim again full amount. And there is no restriction, there is no limitation. N number of claims can be paid.
But
So
still the reinstatement
if you
is
see
going on.
it from the insured's point of view, he is having that full sum insured throughout the policy period, irrespective of number of claims. This is what you have to remember. Unlike Mediclaim, where my sum insured will reduce with each claim. Here, reinstatement of the sum insured is the headache of the insurer.
But if still reinstatement is going on and the second loss is full loss, in that case also.
No. See, for example, let us say it is 100-meter compound wall is covered under the policy. 50 meter is damaged. Now 10 meter reinstated. Okay, so 50 plus 10, 60 meter is at site. Now there is a damage. You cannot pay 100 meter. Naturally, property is only 60 meter, you pay 60 meter.
Okay, now
Whatever
clear.
available, you have to pay. But the 10 meter, you have not collected reinstatement premium. It does not mean that he will get only 50 meter. No. He will get whatever property available there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Another example, if it is only a single machine, it is a total loss. Then there is no question of reinstatement premium, that policy ceases. Then he purchases a new machine, he takes a new policy. Any other doubt?
Sir, in case of that collapse of building, that collapse of building, sir, the building has been collapsed, the policy has ceased. In that case, we are not taking that risk. Means that loss is there. Now we have to pay the losses and take the reinstatement premium. Why we are seizing the policy?
No, collapse of building, if it is due to insured peril, cover will continue. We are talking about sir, without any peril, there is a collapse.
Okay, sir.
Sir, in IAR exclusion, latent defect and defective design are same, sir.
Latent defect means defect already in existence.
Okay, sir.
You can call
Defective.
it as yes. See, latent, it can be a defective material, it can be a defective workmanship, it can be a defect in design, original design. But in IAR policy, if you go through the wording, I don't know, you are familiar with DE1, DE2, DE3, DE4, 5 wordings. In engineering class, we will be covering that. So in IAR, as per the existing terms and conditions, you can take as far as plant and machinery is concerned, it is almost equal to DE3. Whereas in civil structure, it is DE4. Inbuilt cover, I am telling. All the ensuing damages are payable.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, building under course of construction. Why we are giving fire policy in that case? There are other policies. Now, IAR is there, other policies are there. Then in the course of construction, why fire policy is being issued?
Why question I cannot answer. It is a facility given. If it is only they want to cover building in the course of construction, they can go for a fire policy. Where the coverage is restricted, only peril. 12 peril should act. Whereas in an engineering project policy, it is an exclusion driven policy. Whatever happens, you will have to pay. So coverage widely differs, premium also different, and it is restricted to only building, not to plant and machinery. So that facility is given. Somebody wants to take, let them take, or they can go to a wider cover under project.
Okay, sir.
So shall we wind up?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes,
sir.
thank you, sir.
Balaji,
Yes, sir.
can we wind up then?